So I'd like to hear Lion, I think, and Greg try and sell me on the God story because I'm lost.
All right.
I've been ruined by Sunday morning evangelists when I was young, and I can't get near religion since. I understand there's a difference.
Have you tried repenting?
No, I haven't. But I do understand there's a difference between the Bible and the churches. I just don't know why the churches are allowed. And I'm going to suggest in the end that Flat Earth became just another Christian church.
All right. Let's let the record show again. It was not a Christian bringing up the Bible.
Yep.
Noted.
I'm sure Gregory's got a irrefutable logical syllogism to convince you, Dan.
I'm not sure it's the Bible.
We're not gonna. No, hang on, Dan. We're not gonna convince you of God. That's not gonna happen.
Appeal to reason.
You have to look within yourself, Dan, and figure it out for yourself. No one's gonna convince you.
Do you think that's what the Bible says?
Hang on, man. No one is going to convince you of the existence of God if you don't have it in you.
I asked you to enlighten me in your best, within your best opportunity.
You asked us to convince you, Dan.
Everybody chill. Wait, I'm just curious.
I told you what I was.
Because I was getting cut off. That's all.
What do the Christians think that?
Yeah, Rob's frustration is justified.
The Messiah, though, would think if, like, you're making the assumption it's in bad faith. I mean, but if someone walked up and said, "Look, I had a bad experience with the churches that claim to represent the Bible, but I'm open. I know that it's not the Bible and the Christianity itself's not the same. Could you guys help me kind of understand it or whatever?" I mean, do you really think that like the best approach is to kind of like be really aggressive with the person and like tell them no, you can't help them, they need to figure it out themselves? I don't know, man. Disavow, but I have to step back away. I just heard that. I'm like, what's going on? I don't even know what that's about. But
yeah, my position is, Dan, if you're curious, read the Bible, and then I don't agree that flat Earth is a denomination of Christianity, as you suggested.
And then Dan, what would you like to hear from? What would you like to hear from Gregory and Lion exactly? What are you hoping to focus on from these two?
I like the way that they think. I'm not on their line of reasoning, and I'd like to be. I think they speak. Both of them speak clearly and speak well. In other words, Greg's cool to listen to. I just can't believe what he's saying.
Are you generally want to be, or you just want to stir up a conversation?
I'm genuinely resistant, and I don't need to be so resistant. And more importantly, if I wanted to go to religion, I'd just say I'm a Jew. They'll take me in. I could be the chosen one. So what? Tell me on why I shouldn't do that then.
What?
Well, here, let me give you. Unless Lion or Gregory want to jump in, I could give you an argument I've heard.
I mean, to me, it's like a supermarket. Why should I shop at this market versus the other market when they all have the same good?
Because you first
I'm sitting here listening to all this. I'm like, okay, why is the window
genuinely want to be, and then all of a sudden you say you're generally resistant.
Well, I'm stuck needing the goods of a supermarket. So sometimes I go where there's a sale. Sometimes I go where it's convenient. I generally aren't going to do that with a church because a church is supposed to contain a belief system. Well, and for me, they're going to let me in to Judaism without a belief system. They're going to let me in that door based on lineage. And so my belief doesn't matter. Yeah.
If you want to,
do they have coupons? Do they have better coupons at this church than the other church?
Dan, let me let you know right now. If you want an easy road, this isn't the way. No way exactly. Definitely everything else is the better way if you want an easy road. This road brings tribulation, frustration, sadness. It's gonna make you cry like crazy.
But I'm coming from there. I'm I'm already broken.
If you want to be more broken, you come to here. You continue to Jesus. That's all I got to tell you.
So you're saying don't bother. Don't bother is what you're saying.
I'm saying if you want Jesus,
I would like to answer it.
It would definitely bother. Now the problem is that people think that this is going to be everybody's going to be nice, and it's a church. There's more conflict in church than anywhere else. So
I would like to answer him.
So you're saying the church road?
what do you want to answer? I'm talking to him, Greg.
No, but I'm getting it.
He explicitly
you're saying
invoked
that
my
the
name
church
for me
road,
to answer.
the church road is difficult. I think Greg's going to make a different point, but that's what you're saying.
He's gonna
Is
go with
going
some
through
logical
churches
cynicism
to get to God is difficult, is what you're saying, right?
I mean, if you want Greg to, give you some logical cynicism about it,
I just want to know what you're saying. Did I summarize it at all?
I mean, I kind of didn't hear what you were saying because Greg was.
So are you
something
saying
that
the
he wanted to
churches are
answer.
the most difficult road to God? Is that what you're saying?
It's not churches. Just trying to get to be with Jesus and actually accept Jesus in your heart as your Lord and Savior. It is the most difficult road that you're ever going to take.
Okay, Greg, throw this into your comment. What about the difference between conscious and subconscious behavior? In other words, if I can't be one with self, how could I be available for God or anything else?
If you can't be one with self, what does that mean?
Well, I'm not in a good connection with my subconscious. Most of my bad behavior would be reactionary to my childhood. And I'm not in the moment usually.
Well, do you understand that you're culpable to God, right?
No, that's what I'm asking you about that.
You don't understand that?
No, I think I'm sure I'm the recording device, and if there was any judgment, it would be done by myself with access to this other part of my brain I'm talking about.
Hang on. I'm operating with the assumption that you're being sincere, okay? So obviously the issue is all humans are obliged to obey God given his command, and they are culpable to him and liable to suffer his punishment if they refuse to obey him. You understand that?
That's silly. That's like saying if you have to go to McDonald's and get it their way, I don't have to go to McDonald's and I don't have to order it the way they make it. So
What's the point of analogy?
Well, you're making up some strict rules that I can't adhere to because I've never heard them before. I don't know anything about it. I'm over 60 years old.
I didn't make this.
Well, it hasn't had the effect on my life that you're making it sound like there's a sign around that I should have
What
checked.
effect
Like,
did I mention?
That I'm living in whatever you said.
Yeah, you're not tracking. Okay, that's why I ask these questions. To prove that people who talk back at me
You didn't ask a
impulsively.
question. You said that I was living in some
I asked
lighter
you a
direction.
question.
You didn't ask a question.
Now you're gonna talk through me, and we're gonna not move forward with a smooth, secular conversation.
That didn't make any sense.
Okay, look, you literally just terminated my assumption that you're operating in good faith. Like you can hear me talking, trying to answer you calmly in a smooth conversation, and you're making it more difficult.
But you already placed God as a purpose in my life, or God, or my purpose in His, and I'm not conscious of that, and the doctrine isn't in front of me.
I just asked you, what did I last ask you? And you couldn't reiterate the question I last asked you. So you just proved you're not tracking. The best reply for you to say from this point forward is, oh, let me stop, pause myself, and listen better.
Well, you didn't ask a question. You started with a premise I didn't understand. I tried to get you there to stop and explain to me what you're saying. Because the premise had me in concert with God to begin with.
And now raise your voice and refuse to let me correct your error.
I'm just trying to say, where is this? What are you saying?
Again, so how about you listen?
Okay, don't pretend you had a question.
Yeah, I did ask you a question. You failed to recall the question. Now this is your problem. And you're prioritizing your antipathy. Like, this is what's happening. Right? Until you stop doing this in the conversation, then we can't move forward in the conversation. So I'm gonna identify the hindrance and see if you will terminate that hindrance or not. What you're doing is you're striving to resist. You're not listening. I asked you a simple question, and you decided, no, I'm just going to decide to believe he didn't ask a question and dictate to him what he said to me.
I'll pretend I didn't hear it then. Why don't you ask the question?
Guys, please take a seat. Let me talk with Dan, and I'll show you how you actually talk genuinely.
No, Zan,
very sincere. I think Dan is actually being sincere. Can you please repeat that again? What you said, Gregory?
Yeah, please.
I want to
The
hear what
question I
Gregory
asked
said one
you,
more time.
the question I asked you, Dan, was, do you understand? Right, that's how I began the question. Do you understand everyone is obliged to obey God by his command, is culpable to him, and is liable to suffer his condemnation if they refuse to repent? So yes, I did ask you a question.
No,
I think this is the
I'm
conversation
unaware
that
of the
he's
things that
looking
you referenced.
Okay.
I'm unaware of the things you referenced.
So Dan, I'm curious. What about
So you
going
don't
to church?
understand
Was
what I
it
just said to you?
I told you I'm
Dan,
unaware on a conscious level.
Hey,
My
Dan,
I didn't ask
relationship
you, are you aware?
would be strictly
I didn't ask you, are you aware? I didn't ask you that.
So Dan, I'm curious.
He's asking you if you understand, Dan.
No.
Not if you're aware.
The answer is no.
Well, but part of that don't you understand?
Everything
Wow,
I just said about it, yeah.
What a
What do you mean
weapon,
everything
Gregory.
you just said about it? What part of that don't you understand?
Well, I don't have any conscious awareness nor physical doctrine for me to follow God.
Bible.
So
I
you're
didn't ask you that.
what
Do you
are you
understand the
asking
concept?
again? No,
I just,
you are impossible to talk to because no matter what
Good luck,
you
Dan.
want, the answer is no. The answer is no.
dude,
Go on.
dude, stop. It's not that hard. You don't actually want it to critically consider. You just prove that. It's not that difficult. I simply asked you, do you understand this proposition or this compound proposition,
No.
granted?
No.
Okay, so what
You're
part of the
just not the
compound
right
proposition did I
conversational
ask you
partner,
about that you
Gregory.
don't
Holy
understand?
shit, Zach.
Or you're just not the right conversational
No,
partner,
stop.
Gregory, and you're
Dan
triggering
is
him.
just looking for a revelation. Dan wants to have God's hand come down and show him, look, I am God.
I was
That's what
going,
he
not
needs.
Dan
He
talking.
needs some direction.
So again, Dan, what part of that compound proposition do you not comprehend?
Dan, would you
I
rather speak with
explained,
Gregory or
it. I
me?
wasn't brought up. I explained it twice. I don't have a physical doctrine. In other words, I'm not carrying the Bible. And any relationship I have with God is at a completely subconscious level.
That has no bearing on my question.
I can't talk to you then, sir.
Okay,
So then,
next,
like,
let's
Come on,
find
Dan.
I'm
someone you can
asking you,
talk
do
to.
you understand? See, this is what's happened. Like, I'm asking you, do you understand these propositions? And you can't, for some reason, you can't or
I
refuse to
keep telling you
simply
the answer
tell
is
me, do you
no.
understand or not? And
No,
then
sir.
specify what
You're not
part
accepting the
of what
answer.
I'm
Gregory,
asking
do you
you, do
have
you understand? Like, this,
No.
that's
Gregory, do you
fucking
have the
weird.
social awareness to stop when he says that he doesn't want to talk with you any further?
Plus, I keep telling him, no, I don't understand. He's
Moderators,
not
Yeah,
please
over and
shut
over, but
up the
he
stupid
just keeps.
babbling from Ziak.
not
Shut
Why is
up
this
elaborating.
the
Christian
babbling from
attitude
Ziak.
just so excellent right now in its humbleness?
I
Why
can't.
am I given such
Dude,
respect by Gregory?
Yeah,
Gally,
Thank you.
You keep
Gally.
talking all over him.
You're a
bro.
gleeful
Like,
troll, Zynak. You're a gleeful
Thank you
troll.
for all the love that I get from these
This
Christians.
has to stop.
It's
Do you
not
hear what
love.
he's
It's
doing?
Dan, I
actually
could give some
Crybaling.
advice for you.
A
I could
gleeful
give
trolling
some advice for
crybully,
you,
dude.
Dan. Like,
Guys,
I think Dan,
we could
what
just
you need to
have.
do,
Hang on,
Dan,
just want to moderate real quick. Guys, we could just have a conversation where it's back and forth. It's not just a bunch of people chatting over each other.
Beginning. Let's back up to the starting point, right? So, Dan, what
Just a
is your
question.
issue?
I'm
Yeah, go
sorry.
ahead. Sorry,
Like,
my bad.
yeah, Dan. So, like, what is your issue? Like, what is the
Well,
issue?
to follow up on what he said and to bridge to your question, I was told that prayer is outward communication and that meditation allows inward. In other words, you'll get answers. Questions on the way out, answers on the way in. So that's my question. In other words, how much am I harming myself by not meditating? Would be my actual question.
To me,
No, to a hive mind, to a room. I
Finally.
no
okay,
longer
because
trust
initially
you.
you,
I
you
no longer
specified me
trust
by
you.
name to
I no
answer the
longer
question.
trust you. So I have to
Okay.
fall upon the room to get an average of response.
What did you even trust me for in the first place?
I thought you could logically talk to me before your bias. I thought you could approach me from a logic position.
And I destroyed that presumption. How?
By establishing things about me I'm unaware of.
What the fuck?
Hey,
Who
real quick,
what did I
maybe somebody
establish about
needs to
you?
somebody needs to help this conversation to get out of this stuck point. Like, look, dude,
I'm trying.
he asked you. So Dan, he asked you, like, do you understand that you're obliged to obey God? And then you said no because I don't obey God. Like, you realize that doesn't logically follow his question. His question is not whether you obey him or not. It's, do you realize you're required? Like, there's this universal power that requires you to obey it. Like, the requirement is from God, and he requires you. He's demanding of you, hey, Dan, obey me. And he's asking you, you realize that that's like a thing, right? And you say, I don't understand how that's a thing because I don't do it. Like, that doesn't follow. So maybe you should focus on the question and the substance of it being, you have a responsibility to obey God. Do you realize that?
It's rather so that it's more like, why is Gregory
That was
holding a
clearly
gun against
the
a
next
kitten
move was
that
clearly for
wants to
Dan
be
to answer
petted?
that, not for Siak to Yaf.
But why are you holding a gun against a
No,
kitten
Zynak,
on your
stop.
doorstep that
You're
wants to
making
come
it
in
worse.
for
Hey,
food?
stop. You're making it worse. Just let him answer the question so this can go forward.
So I had like divorced parents and shit like that. I'm a bit of a justice freak, and on the scales of justice, I tend to think of Mother Nature in balance when I refer to the kind of harmony that you might put in the heavens. So I use balance and justice as the words I use.
What relevance does that have to the question he just asked you?
Well, you're asking what's in my heart.
I didn't ask you that at all. I didn't even say the word heart at any point.
Dan,
do you understand that you have a responsibility to obey God? Yes or no?
You know, you guys are exposing yourselves, and that's, I guess,
Dan, let me ask you a question. Hold on.
You're a grown man, dude, and you can't answer a question.
Well, give me a second.
Go ahead.
But you're silly.
Dan, have you had anything to drink today?
No, is that an accusation?
This is getting
is that a convenient accusation because it's socially acceptable for you to do so?
No.
Because I don't appreciate the implication.
No,
I'm not capable of conversation.
I just want to know your state of
conversation.
Right? I just want to know your state of mind, Dan. Just because they asked you two questions, they were both practically the same, and your answer was completely not in the realm of the question.
So to fit your place of harm in that harmony, now you're going to make me a drinker. Well,
no, I'm just wanting to make sure. The question was, have you had anything to drink today?
You're not making sure at all.
Yeah, I'm asking you legitimately.
Just to try to moderate the room. Hang on, stop. The issue isn't in the question nor the answer. The issue is in the comprehension. So if I said, what's your favorite body part? And you said, teacup, you realize that you cannot answer, not that I know of, that teacup is a body part. What's your favorite human body part? And you say, porcelain teacup. You realize how that can't answer the question. So the person who asked, what's your favorite human body part? You answered porcelain teacup. That doesn't move the conversation forward.
Do you hear me? It was a veiled accusation that I wasn't capable of conversation. Right? So
don't interrupt me while I'm trying to moderate. Just start shouting over me.
I want you to live with
I'm just trying to illustrate.
As an accuser while I smoke a big fat bong.
Oh my god, dude!
All right, Dan. It looks like we can't do this. I knew that you were high.
Fucking accusers.
Accusers? I'm asking you a question. That's not accusing.
Somebody.
I didn't say you were
really
drunk.
Weird.
I didn't say you're drunk.
Dennis, what
shut
the
up,
fuck, guys?
I'm talking.
No, you should shut up for a second.
No, you shut up. I was talking. I was actually speaking before you started working.
Moderator Dan, moderator.
You can't defend your position, so you're going to fire out accusations.
Oh my god,
guys, hold on a second. What is even the topic right now? Like, I don't even know what the topic is.
What the fuck?
Dan joined and asked.
What happened was.
All right, I just got to mute Dan for a minute. Dan joined and asked Gregory and Lion if they could explain to him, essentially, I guess, how their faith is intelligible. I think that's like a steel man of what he asked them. He wanted them to articulate logically why they have faith in God. And then Gregory asked him a question 4 times, and Dan just couldn't grasp the question. So it just became a stalemate.
There's more to it. There's more. So Dan actually came in to talk about how he had a difficult relationship with the faith. And he was curious if anyone could help him remedy that. That is actually the start of it all. And for some reason, it turned very hostile when he was actually coming into the room very humble. And now he's obviously hurt, but for some reason, he keeps getting attacked. And it's like he's been held at gunpoint. It's really weird. I don't understand. He's actually asking for help to understand the religion or Christianity or God more.
Zanuck, you're not helping, bro.
Everything else is what's going on?
Just striving to build and assert your stupid, distorting.
Zanuck, everybody here knows that you're on purpose trying to troll the room and just make things worse. You're like stirring up strife and controversy.
Describe the situation
like this. Like, what the fuck is going on? No, that is false.
The situation. And
yes, I did. I just described the situation.
Gally, I love this because I essentially didn't mean to, but I set them up to show how silly their arguments are, how harsh they are, and how they eventually say, "I'm going to hell" because I don't agree with them.
Just so I can respond to that really quick.
No. You see when I asked. I was going to respond because you see when he said. I understand that, but he specifically said that he set this up just to see how stupid we were. You see, when I generally asked him, "Are you generally here to ask this actual question?"
You're going to discredit me just like pretending I'm drunk. That's
I'm going to
All right, I just muted him so you can finish your point.
When I asked him, "Are you here generally asking?" To be generally asking this question, and he said, "I'm generally here for something else." So he wasn't being genuine. He came here to set it up.
Right, and that's what Austin said. I don't know why you guys are assuming he's asking in bad faith, but It actually turns out he just admitted that he was asking in bad faith.
It's not in bad
Yeah,
faith.
I
I
said that
enjoy
comment
the way
earlier,
you
too.
trap people in
I
bias.
can clearly
Gil.
hear it. It's very
You
obvious.
trap people in their bias. That's how we get things sorted.
No
You've
one
done
said
it
you're going to
well.
tell.
people
No
Your
one
in their
said the
perspective
things you
does it
said they were
well.
going to do.
Your perspective does it
Did you
well.
hear that?
You do it
You
well.
people in
And
their
you
bias.
guys failed to be able to
How does
produce
someone
anything.
else trap
Wixit
someone else in
caught
their
you
bias?
immediately. Wixit caught you immediately thrashing on me, and then you look to diminish me. Then you want me to be a drunk. Then you pretend
okay.
I'm a fucking troll. Your pussy fucking
Dude,
religion isn't helping you.
Oh my gosh! Stop having a mental breakdown, bro.
Like, look, we tried to have a productive conversation with you, Dad. It's not working. You just start screaming at people. You said that this is like a massive gotcha that you were planning ahead of time. All right, fine. You
Okay.
got it.
Okay, got it, Rex. What if we try? Can I ask Dan questions?
It's not fair that we mute Dan and not.
Maybe he has. It seems to be getting very uncomfortable for him to be speaking with people of the faith for some reason. Maybe it has to do with the very fact of what he experienced in his childhood.
Bro, I literally wasn't even a participant in the conversation. I told him, hey man, he asked you if you realize you're responsible to obey somebody. And he said, so you asked me a question about what's in my heart and it's not. That doesn't follow at all. Like he's clearly not following what the words are that are being said. You might as well not try.
To be really fair, it sounded rather that he changed his position after the shell shocks of hearing the guns going off made him like re-traumatized.
I explained it in terms of Mother Nature, balance, and justice. I gave you a guideline that I live by.
Did you
normal
catch us
logical
in some kind of crap?
That's when you decided to pretend I was
no,
drunk.
Stop it. I was asking you. I didn't say that you were drunk. I said, have you had anything to drink? Because whenever they were asking you the questions, your answer was completely left field. That's why I was asking you if you were able enough to have this conversation.
He did accuse you to
You have me obeying an invisible person, and you're talking about left field?
Dude, he didn't accuse you of drinking. He asked you if you were. A question is not an accusation by definition.
Everyone vote on what it really means. Don't play games. Jesus Christ.
He asked you,
don't use the name
have you been drinking?
When you are being a person
He
that's
asked me so he could get me to either lie or admit something that isn't relevant to the conversation. He avoided the conversation. You're supporting it. You're supporting it. It's fucking awful. You're supporting it. It's awful. I can't believe Winston's the only fucking one that caught you people. I can't believe
Well,
it.
it would only be a lie if you said you weren't drinking and you were. So you just implicitly admitted you have been. But I mean,
I haven't been. See, it's your fucking weird box that you need me in to comprehend.
Maybe you're just saying wrong, but that's
and it's not going to happen. You're not going to make me a drinker. You're not going to make me a drunk. You're not going to get away with this type of bullshit.
The gig is up. You already admitted to it, to trying to set us up to start with. So
because
you just said it. This came out of your mouth, bro.
Okay,
what are
so
you
now
talking
understand
about?
it. Now understand it. It has to do with Gally and what
Can we
he's
move on
done
to
with
something
what
else,
he's
bro? 'Cause
done
this is
to
just
show
ridiculous.
bias.
Like, is this
Listen to
really
me.
what
This is
the
just
It has to
ridiculous,
do
stupid. We don't
with
want to
when
talk
people
about
bring their
What were we
bias.
talking about earlier? What was the conversation before this?
Nothing. That's why I brought this up.
I don't
We're
even
talking
care.
about shit.
We don't want to
That's
talk
why I
about
brought this up.
Can
So
somebody
fucking get a
mute
grip.
Dan, please? Jeez,
up.
this is just intolerable.
Right.
Because this is just ridiculous. Can we actually move on to something else? Because just talk about meta and the BS that he just created.
So tell me why flat Earth
Nobody wants to
isn't
talk to you,
a
Dan.
shitty version.
Nobody wants to talk to you. If you want to talk to Sandy, I can have you. There's another room here. I think they made one for spirituality. Spirituality.
You're grandstanding.
Nobody cares, dude.
He's not trying to reason.
Dan, we're trying to go to something else. We don't want to talk to you about this, so we could definitely just move on. Thank you.
So what's left of flat Earth?
Why do we want to talk with you about
this kind of faith and this kind of rejection for logic? That's all I hear is rejection.
Because anybody else have another topic?
All right, so officially I'm leaving because you're too pussy to talk to. Now, I realize there's people here.
All you want to do
I realize there's some other people here, so I'm not going to condemn the room in its entirety, but I'm going to laugh at Christians right now. Thank you. Thank you, Gally, for giving me enough support to fucking want to call out people for not being able to get past their bias.
Stop engaging with Dan. Stop engaging with Dan. It's done. It's done. Enough.
Damn, enough of him.
Dogpiling not helping.
Yeah, that's not. I agree with Cole. Yeah, interrupting him. Yeah, that's retarded.
I would still like to try to talk with
everybody
Dan.
talking.
Oh, yeah.
That was one of those stupid ass conversations I was invited to in the most.
Well, Dan, yo, bro, who's got a coin? Somebody, let's call it heads or tails, bro. That sounds more entertaining than this.
Dan, are you converted? How'd it go?
Tails never fails.
Was it a good conversion?
No, I know, because I like
he didn't want to.
I like those guys. You know, I was willing to listen. I was totally willing to listen.
Did not you just admitted? You just at the GOGs admitted to coming here to try to create this ruckus and try to
expose bias. That's all you have to do.
Yeah, if we expose bias, we can get into real conversations. Well, I'm sorry. I can't say that's not true. But I did give you every opportunity to tell me something, and which it caught you immediately.
Doesn't matter.
Not being
Don't
open,
go back to it.
not
He's
being
80 years
willing.
going
Then
back
you
to it.
gang banged all of it, and you fucked
So
up.
striving to
Yeah,
bait
fucked
him
up.
to go
you
back
came
to it.
here. If you came in here with
Come
an
on, huddle
agenda
up with your
of
little
just
fucking
trapping us, don't you tell
altar.
me that you
Huddle
came
up
here
with
to
your
try
altar.
to. Oh, dude, you just
Find a
finished
new
talking,
plan.
dude. I
Guys,
next time
both of you
somebody
just
comes to
stop.
you-
Daniel,
Moderation.
just stop chanting at each other. You guys aren't going to come to an agreement.
Well,
You're
which
just both chanting and
summarize
trying
it
to talk over
immediately.
each other.
Which it summarized it
So,
immediately.
Gio,
If
if you want to hear
somebody
what
comes
happened,
to you,
especially if you want to
maybe
hear
you
his
shouldn't
explicit
shit
admission
on
that
them.
he just
Maybe
You
shit
came
you
here
outside.
with an
shouldn't shit on
agenda.
them.
You came here with an agenda.
You didn't
To
know
trap us.
anything about
No,
my
you-
agenda.
God, can this
You know what
stop?
my
Just
agenda
admit
was?
it.
My
You
agenda
admit it.
He was
was
successful if
not
that's what he did.
directed at
You
Christianity.
need to get
You want
some
me to
control
pray-
in this room.
you want me to give you a clip?
Here.
My
What
agenda
if-
was to
You're just
follow.
repeating
Let me go
yourself,
to YouTube.
chanting over each other. Stop.
My agenda was to follow Galley's lead in exposing people who are not willing to listen and are only saying the one side.
But he's still
He did-
on that shit.
but
Enough.
because I really wanted to hear what you had to say.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you did.
But you made
It's
some
over now.
assumptions
Bullshit.
about me.
Dude, it's over now. Just stop. Like, enough.
We're going to move on
Enough.
from that topic now.
So I'm sorry I'm interested in balance or justice. That's all I know. I didn't
You
have
are
a book.
forgiven, my son.
Thank you. And I don't have a book. So does God live within me enough to help me make decisions? I hope that with patience and a deep breath, the answer is yes. That's what I
good.
hope.
Well, keep that hope alive, and I hope your meditation, your prayers get answered for sure.
I just don't think there's any reason to think that in my ignorance of the Lord, it doesn't work through me. That's
Hey, Dan.
silly.
Let me ask you a completely irrelevant question. Would you take an oath, not literally an oath, but just give your word not to drink or do any form of drug at all for the next month, for 30 days?
It hasn't affected my life very much when I've done it before. You'd have to give me a reason to do that.
Because you should, because someone told you to.
Okay, but this moment of clarity, even after many months, never came. And the greater issues have to do with being distracted. If you think the drugs might, or I mean, no more than television would marijuana be a distraction to me. So, or the internet. And distractions aren't healthy in any way. I get it.
Dan, can I give you? Remember when I was like, "Hey, listen, I'll go if Gregory or Lion don't want to go," and then that kind of turned into a shit show. I would just give you like this answer that somebody else. This is actually somebody else's answer. And I'm going to try to like I don't know, paraphrase it, right? So it's okay, right? The human being has these questions, like epistemological questions, like why something's the case, or like why am I human? What became before human? All these things, right? So if anybody takes these stance from some sort of secular worldview, right? So like why am I even trying to answer these questions? Like, is it good to answer these questions, right? Like, well, what is good? Like, well, why am I? What's the reason that I even require a reason, to justify my position? All these things, right? So from a secular point of view, you might try to answer all these things, like why should I go to work? Why should I have a family? Was it good to have a family? Why are these things seem to be the case in the world, right? And then, right, you have all these questions, right? And then you just put on your Christian hat if you have one, right? You put on a Christian hat, right? And you say, okay, well, why I should be morally good, right? Is because God is the arbiter of morality, and He's given me the faculties to know this, right? And you say, okay, well, like, how do I know my hands exist, right? Like, well, you put on your Christian hat, well, I know my hands exist because God has given me, He's made me in His image, and He's given me the senses to perceive the world in my hands as they are, so that I can know the truth, right? Like, so you put on your Christian hat, and all of these questions, like, what's the meaning of even answering this question? Like, all of these questions then have absolute meaning. When you take the hat off, right? And, well, maybe there is no God. Then all of the questions you have are just meaningless. Like, why am I even doing it? Why can't I stop myself and keep on asking myself these retarded questions? Why can't I just live my life? Why am I compelled? Right? And you put the Christian hat back on, like, oh, I see why I'm compelled to ask these questions, right? So like, the world can make sense, viewed through that lens, or you try to find a replacement for it that would pretty much just be like pretty much like a clone of it. That was kind of the answer I was going to give. Like, why ought you do this, right? Because if you're even asking yourself an ought question, right, you have to ground why are there oughts in the world? Well, without God, they would be meaningless.
Yeah, like you can't really rationalize other than in a subjective way. It has to be subjective. If you don't have God, you cannot say that there's any reason that's objective other than just opinion, which by definition is subjective, and everybody's got an opinion. So who's to say whose is better? Other than opinions, you can't give any reason as to why everybody shouldn't just do whatever they want all the time, whatever feels good to them, regardless of
That's a ridiculous argument. That's a ridiculous argument.
No, it's not.
It makes the world better.
Who says better to who? Better according to whom? Jeffrey Dahmer thought the world was better when he raped and cut up and eat people.
The world is better if I don't have to sleep with one eye open and worry about my neighbors coming to steal everything I have.
Better for you, not better for them. Better with respect to who?
Better
for my family. Rational to who? It's subjective, bro. If you don't have a higher thing, who cares? That's subjective.
If somebody comes in and kills my family, that's not a subjective experience.
Oh, for you it was bad. For the person who did it, it could be good.
Yeah, listen, even
Right, bad for me. It's objectively bad for me. So for me to want to build and support a society where bad behavior like that is encouraged is objectively bad for me.
No, it's still subjective. If we're going to space dust, nothing matters.
You don't understand the difference of the definitions. Just go check out the definitions and jump back in. But even if you were to ask that question, or even to make that statement, well, we're going to do this because it's better. But why ought things be better at all? Right? Again, you're still going to find yourself falling short. That you can't answer of why things ought to be better or worse subjectively. You're just going to fall flat. So put on your Christian hat and ground yourself and move forward.
I don't need to do that though. Things are better if my family don't die, and I'm not sad. If other people don't die, and they're not sad. Things are better if people can work and have a life and have a place to live without living out in the rain, without being hungry, without being cold, have clothes on their back. These are common sense things that are just better for people and it makes people happier.
Listen, I know all the little different points that you're putting out there, right? But the point that I'm making to is on a more, foundation, or like more fundamentally, is why any of these things matter whatsoever? Why should anything matter? Right? So if you don't put on your little hat, you're just gonna have these little like arbitrary things that, well, I ought to do this, that, and the third because those things are better. But why should anything be better or worse than anything at all? You can't ground it. You just can't ground it. You can make the claim that, well, I'm making the claim without referencing God. I'm saying that things should be better. Yeah.
I get what you're saying. Like, why do we think that one thing is better than another?
Just like you're low. People just want to take their other starting points for granted and not justify them, right? So you just live along your life. You're just la-di-da, walking along your yard in your home, and you're just enjoying your things and yada yada. And someone else decides, I want what you have. I'm going to do anything I fucking want to get it, even if it spills your blood, right? So then when someone comes along and tries to use all sorts of coercive, violent means to take your shit, or they can't get it, just destroy your shit, how do you know they're wrong, that they ought not do it and should be punished?
Because the majority of civilization thinks one way. So I go by the majority. If there's a few outliers, I think the majority.
Okay, real quick, pause right there. That's a good point to stick on. Yes, stay right there.
Yeah, the majority, right? So when the majority says, let's fuck up Cole's shit because we don't like his skin color, how do you know they're wrong if they are wrong?
I would not.
It's called mirror neurons.
Yeah, but why all neurons fire at all? You guys are you stop. No, you stop. No,
hey, where the conversation is.
No, you stop. You stop.
Give him the answer, that's what I just asked him.
Well, my answer would just have to be that that's a really good point, Gregory, and I really don't have a good answer back for it.
You say the same epistemic standard, right? The same epistemic standard you just asserted can be used consistently to prove, quote unquote, the very opposite of everything you believe.
And that is the
why are you thinking about it? Right? I'm not pointing out exactly. I brought this up from. I brought this up at this point. I'm not pointing out all of the different subjective or we can say subjective or objective or whatever. The point is you can't get off the ground whatsoever. You can't get off the ground to start touching on what the majority, the minority, any of this stuff. You can't even justify why you ought to think about these things, right? And it wouldn't make any sense. But you put on your little Christian hat, right? And you say, well, now it makes sense. Now I have some sort of authority that's compelling me to some sort of laws that are just universal in all places and always. And it makes sense. Now it makes sense. You take the hat off and then you start arguing about killing people and Nazis and why I should be able to do whatever I want to do. You can't get off the ground.
Yes, and he just revealed the epistemic bait and switch that I said we should just be patient and it would come eventually. And it came. I can just take that epistemic and turn it on its head.
I just wonder, though, how can an entire nation that was supposed to be Christian in the 1920s, or, well, the 1840s when we had slavery, let's put it that way, when an entire nation that's supposed to be Christian done something that bad, and the majority did think that it was okay. If God put these things in our hearts, then how did that many people not follow what God wants us to follow?
The Christians are the reason why slavery was abolished in the U.S.
Yeah.
Even before that, let's answer his question. Right? It's not a difficult question. It is not as though if God made everyone and obliged everyone to obey him, then necessarily entails everyone will obey him. Humans are corrupt, and they use their volition to do evil things according to their evil whims.
False. Humans are not corrupt. They're corrupt.
Well, yeah. Okay. Well, now that we're past like the point that I made to you, Dan. I mean, you can just take it, not take it, whatever. I guess we'll get into all the different stuff. But like, I got to point out in regards to slavery, Cole. Like it's 2025 now. We have the internet. If somebody's a slave, like my Ring camera's gonna catch it, and like 22 people are gonna take a photo with their iPhones. The communication travels so quick now. Like if I was back then, and somebody had a slave, like it was the 1% that has like the 1%. I don't know how the 1% is doing now besides Twitter, right? Like unless they tweeted, I don't know what they're doing. How am I supposed back then? How was the majority supposed to know that there even were these slaves? They're just living in their cabin in the woods.
That's a good point.
Slavery was faked. It was never in America. That's a good point.
I didn't say that.
I am.
It would just be that, it seems to be like, at least according to the storyline, that like once people caught wind of it, it became like, well, what do you mean you got slaves doing the crops? I'm over here painting my house with my daughters. Like, what the hell? You got slaves doing this stuff for you? Like, this is not fair, and it became like a problem.
Yeah, so you're saying the majority probably didn't know, or probably wasn't for it. They just didn't really know what was going on. So I'm probably wrong when I say the majority was okay with it, because the majority probably didn't even know what was going on completely.
Yeah, I just can't imagine a scenario where the peasants, right, the people are like, they're not rich, they're not the 1%. They're like, oh, slaves, the rich guys who are like, cracking, who are dictating my food supply, they have slaves. This is perfect. Thumbs up to you, and they're moving along with their lives. Like, why would they be okay with it? Why would anybody be like that? That's okay. I'm competing against free labor to survive. I would just imagine they wouldn't be okay with it. Right off the bat.
I mean, these silly notions are contrived by people in the comfortability of their average homes. You sit there in your apartment, in your first world apartment or your house, and you have the modern leaders and appliances nowadays, and you just contrive all these notions in your head. You don't have any discipline when you think through the issues. That's what happens.
Yeah, that's definitely true. Yeah, it's easy for us to think about now because I can just Google it. Right? I can just, all right, let me Google that. But dude, Farmer Joe didn't have Google. He wasn't like, well, let me see how many slaves are in the surrounding towns, and let me weigh out the cost analysis of this. Because I don't know, this doesn't seem. It does seem like the storyline goes that once people got wind of it, then it became a big, a big problem. Like people were outraged by it, and most of them had morals that standard that they would reference for that outrage.
Some of the critiques that are levied are just inane and contrived out of just antipathy with no discipline, no decision to discipline their minds. It's not respectable.
If I was living in the 1840s and there was people with slaves, I would not stand for that. I would put my foot down immediately.
Yeah, maybe. Like, what does that mean? Like, what does that even mean to you? Like, so, like, does it mean like, would you put your foot down just because of like, hey, how are you treating another human being like this? Would you put your foot down because you're like, I don't want these people living next to my pretty little daughters like this? Like, why? I'm going to put my foot down because it's not fair that I have to do this, and they don't get. I see that guy, he's riding on like a human-drawn carriage. This little 1% is ridiculous. Like, I gotta go raise a horse. Like, for what? For what reason would you put your foot down?
Okay, well, pretty sure that it has become self-evident that part of the ritual through this baptizing is to ridicule the other, since they were in a non-Christian position, unfortunately. And
you're ugly, no weird.
Thank you for this beautiful contribution from thank you for your patience and beautiful compliment to me. God bless you. Okay. God bless you for this beautiful compliment.
Well, I would put my foot down, no thanks, because I'm a big fan of Martin Luther King and Karl Marx, and seeing my brothers be tied down.
Also,
Gregory, fire burning inside of me.
God bless you, Gregory, for saying fucking hell earlier. God bless you.
You're a big fan of Karl Marx?
What are they talking about?
And Martin Luther.
Let me know where Gregory is.
So weird.
It's so weird.
What's weird about that?
Yeah, what's weird about?
What the hell is he talking about?
I'm talking
Who
about
knows
I put my
anymore?
foot down because I don't like my
Not
black
you.
brothers being discriminated against.
Not you, not you.
For no reason. Oh, not me. Oops.
But it was a real sign of blessed faith when all the aggressors came onto this guy who, well, turned out that could be that he was on a mission. I talked to the guy. He was unsure.
Dude,
And
you're
there's
literally
all this
only looking to
humble
make us
attitude.
troll every time you come in here. It's super obvious.
It's no trolling,
Like,
dude. It's just
you
beautiful.
pretending that we don't know what you're doing doesn't make us any less aware of what you're doing. You're insulting everyone's intelligence by trying to pretend and be glib.
You're so dishonest. The room gets so dishonest so fast.
We know that. All you gotta come to do is try to patronize us in. Try to get us
No,
back
it's actually an attempt to uphold you. It's actually an attempt.
I'm talking and
Yeah,
sorry, Elbow. Sorry, Elbow. You might start to say time, Elbow. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
You good, bro. You good.
Yeah, you're good.
I come to this room to have productive conversations with people.
Right.
And when stuff like what happened with SEAC and Dan happened, those are not productive conversations. I remember talking to Paz
100%.
and having a better experience than listening to what I just listened to. Fucking
To be clear,
horrible. Grow up,
God
you
bless
guys.
you for the fucking horrible phrase.
To be clear though, bro, like
coming from
Dan,
an atheist that doesn't believe in God, you're
I'm
fucking
not an
ridiculous.
atheist.
Yeah, I
Thank you
dare
for
as
this
a Christian
beautiful
as well.
compliment. Thank you for your love and
Yeah,
kind
yeah,
words.
yeah,
Go ahead.
but
You
see,
could have waited
thank
until I
you
was done
so much.
SEAC. You could have waited until I was done. Thank you.
Thank you
listen,
for the
his
kind
goal
words.
here is to get you.
You're a beautiful
Yeah.
soul.
His
Why
goal
was
here is
he
to get you worked
triggered
up.
over this?
Yeah,
It's a
his
troll troll.
entire reason for being here is to make you feel that way. If you get emotionally reactive towards him, you're giving him what he wants. He's a glib troll. We know that's what he's here for, right? Rob,
Completely false.
the other guy was trying to understand, and he like either wasn't able to, or just like is in a headspace where he's not wanting to engage with that right now. Like Dan just is not there right now. He might come back to it later, think about it later. But
Wait,
Zydak
what's
was
it
starting
talking
to talk.
about immediately?
Oh my
You're looking
gosh,
to
bro.
shut it down.
Dan,
Then you look for micro
Dan,
definitions, and now you're
Stop.
parading around as if you won something.
Dan,
You
you're
are
getting
a
trolled.
loser.
want a
You're getting
reply from
trolled.
Here it
Dan.
goes
Moderators
again.
don't hear what's happening. It's like moderators really just don't do a job of doing their job.
Thank
Dan
God bless
is a
you
big
for
halibut.
ridiculing
Christians-
him.
I gotta say, like,
Not
listen,
bad
listen,
Christians, y'all should get
moderation. We got moderators participating in it. But this is the thing. I am trying to do something right now. I'm hella busy. I'm trying to do like 7 things right now. This is like unbearable. I had to turn it down. So look, if you guys can't continue this conversation in any type of productive way, maybe we should just do the mature thing, set our pride aside, men in black pin it, act like it didn't happen, and move forward. If you guys are super insistent that you continue to have the conversation, then you definitely shouldn't all decide to contribute to the audio chaos and talk at the same time and take personal shots and blah, blah, blah. Basically,
I completely agree with you.
job is just saying the same thing that we always have to say, the same rules that have always existed, the same basic parameters for adults to have conversations that have always been the case since the beginning of mankind.
I completely agree with you, It. I am here acting in good faith, attempting to uphold those that do not to a excellent standard. One cannot just imposture being morally wise and go on about cussing and swearing and holding guns at people. You actually have to be genuine, humble down. Please, Let me talk. Now I'm going to be a victim, Elbow. Oh my gosh, Elbow.
Away from me.
Thank you, Elbow, for overspeaking me when you equally become a victim.
Can we talk about
Bro, this is just moderation. Dude, I tried to just go back to doing what I'm trying to receive codes for my devices. I can't even go back for 30 seconds. Okay. Bro, you didn't doing the exact same thing, adding fuel to the flame, basically lecturing them how they suck, is the opposite of what I asked you to do, man. Clearly, this conversation is going nowhere. If anyone wants to talk about any topic other than this,
dude, I've been trying to move the conversation off on something else, and they keep.
All right, do you have a topic you want to bring up?
I've been asking the room. I asked what we were talking about before Dan came in and spoke, but we totally forgot what it was.
Is it fair that the LA Dodgers have the only 2 Japanese pitchers?
Or should we have a civilized thing? And since the shit show was happening, I decided I'd get you guys going because the bottom line is you Bible thumpers don't agree on anything.
Don't rehash.
You don't give me anything that you agree with. For me to do
okay, moderation again. I want to point out that whenever Dan first brought it up, someone did say, hey, I'd like for everyone to take note. This once again wasn't a Christian that brought it up. And that's true. And people, and I stepped in to defend Dan saying, although it does seem like you might have some antagonistic intentions behind this, I wouldn't just make that assumption. I don't think it's a good look to jump on people, to be rude to people, to be aggressive or assertive, like, go figure it out yourself. I tried to have your back and give you the avenue of good faith, right? Because I didn't necessarily think the way people handled it was correct. I do think that you maybe were now revealing that you were just trying to make your greater point, which is that you're fed up with the Bible thumpers. Basically, flat earth has devolved into a religion of Christianity, which you associate with sucking. So it's like, all right, bro, cool, man. No worries.
With it. I understand where you were coming from at the time, but I've had many conversations with Dan. That was why I said what I said in the beginning. I wish you would have stuck up for me, not Dan. Thank you.
No, I'm going to stand behind. I'm going to stand behind my moderation on that because say there's someone in here that's not a believer, and they hear a guy come in and say what he said, and then what they hear in return is someone to like effectively yell at him like super aggressive and say you need to figure it out yourself, and then the room dogpile him. First of all, that's not acceptable with really any topic
I
ever,
don't think the
regardless of the
dogpile
history.
part.
Secondly, bro,
Sorry,
to someone else that is not a believer, that's just going to look bad, right?
Thank you, Witzit, for that.
I understand.
Right,
Yeah,
Essie, are you?
I can agree with you. I came off strong because I'm sorry. I have had these conversations with Dan. I'm sorry.
No, you
sorry,
haven't.
Dan, that I
No,
jumped
you
the gun for
haven't.
the entire room.
No, you haven't.
Hey Rob, I thought you did it. I mean, you're okay. You're okay. It is somewhat your voice
You
and
and I
stuff,
have
but like
no
as far
relationship,
as like there's Rob and there's
No,
also I think
on
there's
any server.
Elbow and there's like Gregory also chiming in on like if they're the Christians, they do have to be better. Let the
It's fine.
non-Christian
There's
have
no
that
server where him and I go back and forth, and we never have.
So just try to
Dan,
talk
you
to
see how you're
everyone who's
like
talking
yelling
right
at the
now.
guy, man?
Well, I'm just trying to say this is the problem. You
Just
know,
trying
and
to talk to everyone.
I'm going to point this out, and I'm going to excuse myself because I'm not well behaved. But
Dan is
the Christians stand out. The real Christians stand out.
Dan.
They don't raise their voice. They don't call
Thanks,
names, and they don't accuse people. They stand out. There's very few of them. Very few of them.
Essie, are you in the room right now or not in the room, Essie?
I'm here, bro. I've been listening from the beginning. Very interesting.
You got anything with China? I want to talk about China.
I know you guys want to change the topic, but I wanted to actually, but I better not because I'm going to make it worse. I think.
Well, I mean, they're talking about. They're talking about morality. If I could sum it up after listening here, they're arguing that if you didn't have God's rule, if you didn't have a mob boss telling you he's going to bust your knees out if you don't listen, then you're not going to have any basis for your morality.
That was a very accurate steel man, Jake. Congratulations, you did so well.
You know what I found interesting, and I'll say this.
You see what I'm talking about? Like for the sake of the audience, this is what I'm talking about: the lack of moral integrity and self-discipline.
Well, Gregory, why don't you tell us what was the morality behind the slaughter of the Amalek?
What did you find interesting, SC?
Well, two things.
Gregory, go ahead and
Damn, Jake, man, why are you talking all over the SC, man? He's been trying to get in like 3 times, and you just
no self-discipline.
Sorry, SC. Go ahead, SC.
No worries. We're all excited. This happens all the time when we talk about this subject, but that's cool. We're all, we all have our opinions. First of all, I noticed right away when Dan came in, I caught right away what he was doing. Number one, you guys should have caught it right away.
I did.
Number two,
they literally pointed it out. Like 3 people did.
I think everyone did, but the
caught
point, I mean, dude, I obviously also knew as well that it seemed that was the case. But the point is, that you still have to be aware of like any third party, right? So you have to show some class with how you handle it.
Exactly. That's number one. And he goaded you guys on this. Okay, now number two.
Anything. I knew he was doing.
Guys, please let Essie finish his point. So, Essie, you were saying number 1, you guys should have caught it right away. Number 2, Gaddis.
Number 2, what really caught my attention was the morality issue. Like the way you guys are saying morality is the direct consequence of a god, of religion, right? Now that right away negates pre-Christian civilizations. It's like you're saying they don't have morality. They didn't have morality before Christianity. How is that logical?
No, oh my God, dude. Our worldview is not a world that begins in the first century AD. That's not our worldview.
Gregory, before we go there, I'm going to tell every Christian right here now. Hold on, dude. I'm going to tell every Christian right now. Let's not go down this route with them. Let them be how they be and they want to be. Screw talking to them about that because all they want to do is try to snap us in the hand for some crap that happened in the past years. That's my point. My thought on this.
But you're being
if you want to talk about Christ, bro, if you want to talk something about Jesus, man, go to Jehovah Witnesses and ask them that question, dude.
So you don't.
Was that a rational response? This is
what it is being tired, SE, of being told that bad Christians, you guys are this, you guys have no morality, you guys this. What if your God doesn't do this? I mean, this is always though. This is every time. This is what we always get. And at the end, guess who gets? Hold on, Greg. Who gets the backhand? We're always bringing Christianity up. We always get blamed for every Christianity talk there isn't here.
You have a point there, but that wasn't my issue. That wasn't my issue.
So guys, if we're going to continue this, we need to first stop over talking. Everybody has to stop over talking. I'm just going to aggressively mute anyone who overtalks and leave you muted for like 20 minutes, okay? So nobody overtalk anyone because there has been so much overtalking. I haven't really been at my mic. It's been absolutely unlistenable. People, I mean, every time Dan spoke, I know you guys were upset at it, but every time he spoke, he got interrupted into a total dumpster fire. So can we not have that? Whatever we talk about, if it's going to be this topic or anything else, we have to have a real conversation that can be productive to some extent. If we're going to stay on this topic, fine. If we're going to go to another one, we can do that too. But that just has to...
Don't say that Dan was the only one that got that done to, because he did it to so many people as well.
Yes, there was endless chaotic. It's been complete chaos for at least 30 minutes, or longer. Witsa tried to mod. Tried to mod. So let's just carry forward. Elbow, you said your piece. You've passed your mic. SE said the last thing. I think Gregory was speaking. Go ahead. Please keep it concise. Keep it to the point. Pass the mic. You know, live stream correctly if we're going to do this. So go ahead.
So concerning your latest point, like I just said earlier, like I don't understand how you could say that. I don't understand. Like, obviously, the beginning of humans being obliged to obey God didn't begin in the 1st century AD, dude. Like, come on.
You said Christianity, not.
No, I didn't say Christianity.
Talking about Christianity and morality, were we not?
I didn't say Christianity. And within Christianism, even within the circle that is Christianism, the humans beginning to be obliged to obey God didn't begin in the 1st century AD, bro. Why would you say such a thing?
I didn't say that. You're gaslighting me.
You said before Christianity. And so you're thinking about the beginning of Christianity in the 1st century AD, right? So even within the circle that is Christianity, that's not even remotely accurate to their worldview.
Okay, let me ask you this: when you say God and morality, are you not referring to the Christian God, or are you just referring to a Zeus, for example?
I don't talk like that. I don't talk like that. It's just the God who has revealed himself ubiquitously, which includes the Holy Mikra, the Bible.
So you mean God revealed himself to the Chinese, for example?
God has revealed himself to everyone. Read Romans 1.
Okay, so why aren't the Chinese religious in the same way that you are, for example?
I've already taught you this, right? Humans suppress the truth and unrighteousness. Keep asking the question. I've already given the answer explicitly, and then like let some span of time elapse, and you ask the question again. That's what happens. So that's what keeps happening.
That's not. I don't understand, man. I don't know where you're going.
There's
with
like
this.
two different. There's like things that people call natural revelation, as in it has been revealed to all men that they have these like morals that are within them, or it's been revealed in other ways. Like it's been revealed in through the uniformity of nature that one thing happens in succession to another thing, but it happens in a way that's universal and uniform. So there's like natural revelation where men have just like I kind of said it to Dan earliest on, like why are we even considering morals? Like can we ground why any oughts whatsoever? And then there's special revelation where it's like biblical or stuff like that. So there's two different ways to come to God. Like the Chinese people would come to God being, well, like if I just define God as in a single way, say the foundation. Well, what's the foundation? They have a God. They have something. Yeah.
Okay, let me ask you this in this way then. Some tribe in Brazil, out in the boonies, never saw a white man before, or a black man for that matter, right? Never heard about this God. Are you suggesting that they have no morality amongst them?
No, which is exactly what the Apostle Paul repudiates in Romans 2. God has instantiated the knowledge of him and his law in the conscience of every creature, especially humans.
Yeah, but these creatures didn't never heard of God.
You just contradicted. You just contradicted what I just said to you. That's all you've done.
You made an assumption.
You're making an assumption. That's what you're doing.
No, you're making an assumption that you think they know your God. Or God.
No, you're making an assumption that God has revealed himself to everyone.
It's 4 times in a row. Can we get a 5th?
Why does it sound like the classical kindergarten situation where one says, "No, you did it. No, you did it. No, it was you."
That's what's happening.
I don't know, but you're asking like if like this is just like an if, but like if somebody's defining God as the giver of moral laws, right, and the foundation for for all things, including moral laws, and you're saying, well, nobody told people about God, right, being that they have these moral obligations like within them, and that all these things are dependent on something that's foundational. And you're saying they don't have that, but they do have it, but nobody gave them the name for it. I mean, that's just like a name thing. Like they didn't have the name, but they had the understanding.
Yeah, we got ancient civilizations. Real quick, so we got ancient civilizations that have never had like contact with the modern world. Who knows how long they've existed for that? Have never heard of your Judeo-Christian God. That's what he's trying to tell you. So I don't know like where Romans 1 talks about that, but please enlighten.
What you don't understand is that you're conflating natural revelation, like no takes just explained to everyone, with the special revelation. You're conflating the two, and we all repeatedly articulate the difference, and then you still conflate them together.
So let me ask you then this thing, Gregory.
Yo, we need moderator.
Left lane, your robot a little bit, probably. It's a little bit delayed too.
Yep.
So according to Gregory,
Can you try refreshing the room? Is it lagging for people? Maybe I don't know.
It just started catching up. Left lane was horrible.
It's just left lane. I think I see. We're gonna say something. Let's just keep moving forward.
Yeah, I was just gonna say they're trying to equate morality with a God. First it was a Christian God, now it become in general a God. And I'm trying to push back on that by saying, well, what if these people haven't heard about God? Your God or any God? Do they not have morality?
Okay, what if that didn't happen, but it did?
How do you know? You're just assuming. You just saying that, bro.
Given the God's revelation and given the evident behavior, the whole realm of human society is evident of it, which is what the Apostle Paul talks about in Romans 2. But you don't understand these things.
No, I don't understand. I don't agree with them. There's a difference.
Okay, what is the Apostle Paul's point on Romans 2 since you understand it?
Bro, I don't care what the Apostle Paul said. That is irrelevant. Do you understand me? That's not my point. My point is you're trying to equate God with morality. And I showed you very eloquently that some people that never heard about God, they still have morality. Now, if you
can equate God with morality,
that's on you.
Doesn't make any sense. Doesn't make any sense. I never equated God with morality.
Why are these questions being asked if you don't care anyway, Ezzy? What's your
Exactly.
goal?
I don't care about the Apostle Paul. I don't care about the Apostle Paul. It's
Well,
irrelevant.
I think the reason he asked that is because he said in Romans 2, and he said, I disagree with it. So I think he wanted to see if you disagree with it in specific or if you just disagree with it like just in general.
Let me be very clear. Let me be very clear so we can move on. Hold on. I disagree with the whole Bible. Is that good? All of it.
Great. So you're just reaffirming your incredulity. That's all you've done so far.
No, negative.
All right, so Ezzy, hold on. To recap, okay, you're asking. Let me try to understand what you're asking. Are you asking that if there is morality and if there is an objective morality before this specific biblical tradition, philosophy, however you want to refer to it, before that came, how did people know what was moral? Is that your question?
Correct, Joe.
Okay, well, can I just give a brief response and say that I would just say there are many, many, many philosophies and spiritual and religious viewpoints that humans have developed in cultures, whether it's tribal, whether it's in all kinds of places all around the world, and it does seem like there is a wide variety of spiritual viewpoints when it comes to these components. I mean, people in the Amazon use plant medicines, and they get more moral understandings and teachings from plants. Other people have other traditions. There's all kinds of traditions all around the world. Now, I know you weren't really asking me. Maybe you were asking like from the Christian perspective, but I would just throw that in there as just a quick piece. I would say that, other traditions, before Christianity or before any other tradition that, claims a moral, code or some kind of morality, they have other systems and viewpoints and understandings, to go off of. So do you agree?
Exactly.
Why do we have to always be stuck on these truisms? Who disputed that there's disagreement in the world? Who? So why do we keep going back to that?
That's not what he said. What are you talking about?
Okay, shit. There's disagreement in the world. In other words, what he just said, that there's a wide variety of spiritual traditions. So I refer to what he's talking about, I see.
That's not a disagreement. That's a difference of different ideas of how morality is. He just very eloquently explained to you that hold on, don't interrupt me, bro. He told you that people in the Amazon use plants for their morality. Other people, other aspects. He was very clear on that.
So what was erroneous about what I said? Like, what exactly is there?
I'm not sure it would address what they're saying, Gregory.
Yeah.
Like, so this is what I'm talking about. He said there's a wide variety of philosophical and spiritual traditions, which are all contrary to each other. So of course they all disagree. So then I said, yeah, of course.
Hold on, it's a straw man. I didn't say that. I didn't say they disagree.
I didn't say you said they disagree. I didn't say that.
Well, then why are you saying?
You see what I'm talking about? See what's happening?
Yeah, you were just restating what I said, and you were saying that I did say there was a lot of traditions, and then you said that they all disagree. I did not say that, so I interjected to say
I know you didn't say that.
Then why are you saying
you didn't say that?
Then why are you saying it?
Because I'm saying my comment. Why else?
Okay. Well, you said your comment right after you were reiterating what I said. So your comment now is that they all disagree. That's what you're adding.
Wow.
So are you tracking now?
He just were, yeah.
That's crazy.
Stop and think what could have been done for Hitler to win World War II. He was really, really almost there.
Okay, so there's that, right? So do we disagree that there's a bunch of disagreement in the world?
Are you trolling us, Greg? Greg, are you just trolling?
I don't know what y'all are talking about. What are y'all talking about?
Directly online with what the subject is.
himself into a corner.
Division is what.
Do we disagree that there's a lot of disagreement in the world, especially on philosophical issues?
If there's ever a time when you're backed in the corner, just use big words.
Yeah.
Why are you just answering the question? Does someone here disagree that there is disagreement in the world, especially on philosophical issues?
You're evading the question by asking a basic question that's obviously yes.
Oh, okay, so yeah.
Can I try to get us back on track then?
Get back on track.
So then
back on track. So
when I
getting us
said
back on
what I said earlier, just stop trying to specify me. Stop trying to prevent me from finishing my reply.
Stop meta talking. You're not replying. You're meta talking.
Hitler was so close to winning World War II.
I was gonna. Okay, so basically,
so it's okay for him,
the natural revelation.
Don't rush me out of the show, right?
Be quiet, bro.
Okay for him, right?
Stop. Noah,
be
Gregory,
quiet
stop.
in the middle
Stop
of my
for a second.
thing. He just interrupted
Both of
the
you
fuck out
stop
of
for
my
a
shit.
second. Stop.
Hold
Stop
on.
talking for a second, guys.
Yeah, I just muted 3 people, you guys. We cannot have explosions like that. First of all, Gregory and I were going back and forth. Gregory is being kind of bulldozing, interrupting, clipping, getting angry. It's not good vibes. So let's just go back to the good vibes. Gregory, I'll unmute you in a second, but let's just rewind a little bit. Essie asked about morality, and if there's a claim that in Christianity that I believe, if I'm trying to steal man what he's saying, that there's a moral code that is claimed that morality comes from the Christian God. Okay, so if that's the claim, I think Essie was asking, what did people do before this Christian philosophy or tradition came in and claimed that their God is the God of all morality? Essie, let's just go slow. Gregory, I'll unmute you in a second. Greg, just Essie, once more. You agree that's what you were asking, right? That's what we're on?
Perfect steel man.
Okay, and then I responded. I know that I'm not being asked from the Christian, but I did respond, and I said I would say that there are many, many, many traditions that have existed in humanity, spiritual and religious and otherwise, for eons of time in different groups, different communities, families all around the world. And then so I mentioned that. Now, if we were to go talking about those, we could enter into all of those and where they get their morality, but that wasn't really the question. Gregory then jumped in and was somewhat steelmanning what I said, but he was saying the word disagreement. I jumped in and said I never said that they were all disagreeing. That is a topic in and of itself. I mean, I would say a lot of them agree, and there's agreement and disagreement. Nonetheless, Gregory, I'm going to unmute you. Please say your piece, pass the mic, and then we're going to continue. Don't talk, and then when someone talks, clip them because they don't say what you wanted them to say, and then they didn't say what you wanted. Please don't do any of that. If you do any of that, I'm just going to lay the law down, and I'm going to leave you on mute. Period. Do not interrupt. Do not control the conversation. Don't try to demand responses out of people. Don't insult people and ad hom them the minute that they start responding. It's what you've been doing for weeks. We're not going to allow it to happen. I'm going to time you out or leave you on mute if you do that. We're going to have a good, calm conversation. Let everybody interject and let everybody add to the conversation in a clear way. Okay? I'm going to unmute you, Gregory. That's where we left off. Go ahead. Please say your piece. Please pass the mic. And when someone responds, please don't interject and shout and ad hom and do all of those things you do. And when I unmute you, I know you're going to do about 5 minutes of meta trying to fight back against me. Don't do that either. I am saying what is correct. Everybody here has heard it for weeks. Go ahead.
Yeah, okay. Anyways, the last point is so simple. Like I already said before all that, okay, your comment, SE Montreal, is acting as though the beginning is in the 1st century. It isn't. So when you talk about before Christianity, obviously that's not the worldview. It's not what the Bible is conveying. Not even what the vast majority of Christians even believe. The beginning of all humans being obliged to obey God doesn't begin in the 1st century. It didn't begin when people started first calling themselves Christians in the 1st century in Roman Judea. So the question is malformed with that silly misconception that distorts the worldview. I've already explained this to you.
Greg, I never said that it started in the 1st century. When did I ever say that?
My God, dude. When you said began before Christianism, began before Christianity. So are you not conceiving of Christianity beginning in the 1st century AD?
In that aspect. Okay, in that aspect we can have a time frame. Okay, fine. Good. So what happened before that?
Yeah. Right, so again, I'm saying this answer because you're asking again. The beginning of humans being obliged to obey God began from the beginning of the world, not
but they didn't know. What about the ones that didn't know about God?
Yeah, that's my point exactly.
There isn't anyone who didn't know about God. That's the
Gregory.
point.
Bro, back then everybody knew about God.
Yeah, and I
now,
didn't, and that's
to
where this
all
started.
ages.
This started with me asking you about it because I didn't. So get a grip.
Right. So again, I don't have to take for granted this contrary presupposition that there are some people who don't know God. I don't have to take that for granted. I'm being consistent with what the scripture teaches, with what the God has taught, and what is evident throughout all human behavior, throughout all ages. So no, there isn't anyone who didn't know him.
You just taught yourself, Gregory. You just said you know it because you read it in your book.
No, I know it not only because it's in the scriptures after I just told you that 10 seconds ago.
Okay, so you're saying people knew the Christian Yahweh God before the Bible and any of that even existed? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. I mean,
according to the Bible, it says that. I mean, it says that like Adam and Eve, and then then they had kids, and then they told obviously they told their kids where they came from.
It's the same thing in a bunch of denominations, though.
Then what did they refer to it as? Did they have a name? Did they call it something?
Of course not. It was just the truth. It's just stating the facts that God taught, even now.
How come the Chinese in Chinese script? How come China didn't write about it or anything until like 600 after 600 AD? They didn't have any mention of a Christian God or Hebrew God or anything like that.
So
who doesn't like
if he wants me to
name,
answer the
hello?
question, the answer I've already said to him. He's just
All right,
repeating the question I've already said.
Left Lane said his piece. Sounds like Arwen and Gregory want to respond. So you guys go one at a time. One go first, then the other go next.
It's just, hey, yeah, dude, it's a really big room. So, I mean, seriously, everybody just calm down. But, I mean, it's the God that doesn't like to be named, right? It's just him, the God.
No, it's not that he doesn't like to be named. He revealed his name from the beginning.
Yeah, I know he did. But still, like, basically, they had the habit of you're not supposed to just call out his name, right? Don't take it in vain. Dropping his name used to be a very serious thing. It's not anymore.
Well, no, I mean, before the ineffable name heresy in the medieval era, the common understanding was to speak the name. Before the Pharisees contrived that silly doctrine in the 6th century BCE in the captivity in Babel, millennia elapsed where people knew that we were obliged to speak his name, and they knew his name.
I think morality is written on our heart.
Who said?
Hold on. The
Sorry.
point I'm trying to make is that originally, like knowing the actual communication, having been shared the name, like dropping it, like knowing, that's a very serious thing. And like this, like
True.
right?
Okay.
It's like
You're calling that originally too.
Hold on. To
I got
compare it,
next
for
after
example, with
after.
speaking the language of Mordor in Lord of the Rings, right? That's really expressed. Like, so don't do that. Just don't take it in vain. It's a very serious thing. Has consequences. And
No,
that's what it used
I
to
don't,
be. That's the
I don't
thing.
feel.
Don't drop it
I
lightly.
had to ask you a question.
I was just
Sorry,
going to say,
continue.
I don't think any of that answered my question.
Okay, left lane. Okay, I was
at
going to
all.
ask you go for your question. Your question was, why did the Chinese people started talking after 600 AD? That's what you said?
No, before. They never spoke of
Since
a
when?
Hebrew or a Christian God.
They actually did. Not in Hebrew, because nobody ever mentioned it was Hebrew. It became known as the Hebrew God after Abraham. So Abraham. It says here, ancient Chinese people as far back as the Chang Dynasty, 1600 to 1046 BCE, believed in a supreme deity called Chang Di, or Lord on High. So,
And that's in the Bible.
Boom.
too.
Nuclear
That's
nukes, bro. That was a nuclear nuke dropped by Elba.
Wait, but why?
So-
How is that related to Christianity though, or the Christian philosophy of God?
so
Well,
Christianity.
we got records.
Just
We got.
believe.
Sorry.
We got. We got.
Hold on. Hold on. Let me answer. Let me answer.
Let me go. Let me get next.
Christianity was it was God's son, right? It was that Christianity is still the same God, God on high, the Most High. But it's just that He came as the sheep, the savior for our sins to complete the law. That's what Christianity is about. But it's still the same, Lord on high, God on high.
did write
the term
about the
Christian and
sacrifice
Christianity
of
is confusing people.
Wait,
Go ahead.
I just want to say they did write about the crucifix after it happened. There is ancient Chinese record of them knowing about Christ as well. And then also, like in terms of morality, like, I think it's clear to everybody. Like we have morals like written on our heart. I think we'd all acknowledge that. So God said He put that there.
So
Yeah, but
Gio,
this is what
the
I was
term
addressing
Christian
with
and Christianism
Arwen
is
was that.
confusing you.
Guys, Lion was trying to get in. I think we should let him get in.
I was basically gonna say the same thing. There's Chinese records of the crucifixion of Christ. They
It's
describe
insane.
the eclipse that lasted 3 hours. So we have records, and we also across the the Asian continent. But not only that, you also have in the scriptures themselves testimony of the men of the East, travelers, that were also aware of the birth of the Messiah. Somehow, the Magi, the men of the East, they traveled, they pilgrimaged to Jerusalem, a
Your hot
very
mic
long
is so loud.
journey, a very long journey. So we have records of men from the East, possibly as far as the not the Polynesian islands, the Philippine islands, and the Chinese, aware of the crucifixion, or at least the death of the Son of God. Somehow they had foreknowledge of that.
All right, now I just want to get in with the which was kind of like SE's point, seems like Left Lane's point, and Gregory addressed it. It's begging the question if either way, I guess you could take either position, right? But one position, the Christian position, is saying that right, which would be like the origin of man, right? Like that God was always known, right? And then there was one, and then two, then more, then more and more and more people. That's the beginning, right? And then somebody else would have to, I guess, put forward that that there was a time where human beings popped into existence from either evolution or something else, and had to learn of God in in another way. But you can always it seems to be like refer back to just nature and the which is called natural revelation, which is that the world is intelligible and understanding, and that you have to account for that in some way to speak towards towards God being one God. Yeah. So but yeah, it's begging when SE puts forward the idea that in the beginning people didn't know of God, it's begging the question.
So that's why I'm telling you, Gio, concerning your latest question, right? Just delete the term Christianism, right? Not even the Lord and the apostles use those terms. I mean, it isn't as though God called his doctrine Judaism or Christianism or Islam or any of that. He just spoke. He just spoke the facts. And the prophets and apostles, they all just spoke the facts. They didn't denominate it under some nomenclature, right? They didn't do that, right? So just delete that. You have the God creating his creatures, revealing his revelations to creatures, and he always had people from the beginning continuing the sacred, divinely revealed tradition as he revealed it up to the present to the end of the age.
Wouldn't there be a story like Adam and Eve and like Genesis, the story of Genesis? Wouldn't there be some parallelisms between these two different gods, or if it's the same God, surely the story would be parallel, wouldn't it?
What the hell is the question? What?
Well, looking at the ancient Chinese religions where they spoke with the gods, the Shanghai or whatever, back in the early 1600 before Christ. They don't speak of Genesis or Adam and Eve or any of that.
Because, my God, the word Genesis is Greek. Okay, so it was known by the initial autographs.
Yeah.
Okay, okay. You have the Torah itself, okay, which was written in Yahudit, okay, which is now known as Ivrit. You use the English word Hebrew. The word Hebrew is an English word, by the way. Okay. Then you have just the I forget the term for the type of title that they use, but in ancient literature, they used the first or earliest words of the very first earliest words of a given passage to be the title of the given body of literature on whatever writing material. Right. So it's called Breshit because Breshit is the first word. Okay. And then after the entire Torah is completed, then they now developed the tradition of knowing that we're going to refer to this body of literature, this scroll, as the Torah, etc., etc. But we find parallels between the cosmogony, which is I think what you're asking about, the cosmogony, the similarities between the cosmogonic doctrines between the Torah and everyone else are parallels with more or less differences. And there's differences because there's more or less differences because humans decided to rebel and choose lies and stupidity and their corruption.
It does say that in Romans, yeah. See, I mean, I don't know. I mean, if you, SE can maybe bring up another point, but whatever. I feel like that one's been kind of addressed. Like,
well, I think
what did people like the one that like what did? I don't know.
No, we could toss it back to SE because he brought it up. There's been several things said. SE, do you want to either steelman what's been said or continue it forward, or like in terms of, I mean, in a sense, it sounds to me like a very generalization is that they're saying that the God that's mentioned in the Bible existed before, it just didn't have any, the same name to go by, but it was still there.
Well, it kind of was, no? That's what I understood.
No,
okay,
it wasn't that he wasn't known by the same name. He was known by the same name from the beginning. That's why even in the days of Genesis 4, people called upon the name of Yahuwah, Yoreh.
So you're telling me right now, if I go into, I won't even go in the past. You're telling me right now, if I go into the Brazilian rainforest and find some indigenous people, they're going to know what Yahweh is if I ask them?
But that's not my point. My God.
Every time we say something, that's not my point.
Because you routinely distort my point.
Yeah, but
I would say that. May I say the thing that I was going to say like 20 minutes ago when I got bulldozed by Gregory? So I would say, basically, any like rational man will basically look around and say, there's a universe around me and it's intelligible. I.e., something had to come about. Something doesn't come from nothing. So there's something that always existed. There's an eternal something. That eternal something has to basically substantiate and create everything and also have intelligence to then make us have the ability of intelligibility. So we know that there's something eternal, always existing of itself and intelligent just by being a rational man that exists. That is the natural, that is the natural revelation that Paul is speaking about. The special revelation is when that eternal intellect that's all powerful then comes to you and says, hey, let me tell you my name. Let me show you my personality. Let me show you what I'm like. The Christian claim is not that nobody knows about God or that God is some mystery. It's that everyone knows that there's inherently a God. The Christian claim is that we're the people God revealed himself personally to. That's the claim. That's the difference, that we personally know God.
And I don't know how much to respond.
That's a good answer.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I see also.
I could have gave it earlier, but I got bulldozed.
No, that was good.
Pretty good, Noah.
Pretty good. Noah.
Pretty good, but not. It doesn't really. Yeah. Go ahead.
So
go ahead.
yeah, so they might not know Yahweh like name like that, but like the guy when I was saying about the China knowing Chengdi, Lord on High, right? And I just kept reading upon him. It says he's a supreme deity in ancient China is credited with creation by separation of pure from the gross, making heaven and earth and giving life to all things. The creation story found in texts like Xu Ying, the Book of History, describes Shangdi as a spiritual sovereign who ordained the existence of the cosmos and humanity. While Shangdi was this distant, all-powerful god, the Zhou dynasty later shifted to focus to Taiyan. So
that sounds a lot like the god of Genesis. That sounds a lot like the god of Genesis. Separated good from evil, created the heavens and the earth. That sounds a lot. And that's what I'm saying is these things, any rational man can come to this conclusions that there has to be a god.
Can I answer that? Can I answer that?
It was inevitable. It's a design.
That was actually the best explanation so far, right? But it still doesn't give exclusivity to the Christian God. That's my point. But that was a very good
Now he's
answer.
switching subjects.
I
That
heard
wasn't
so
the
far.
initial subject.
Yeah, I'm not trying to give exclusivity. I'm just saying, like, that's the Christian claim. Christian claims every rational man knows there must be a God. Inside, he doesn't have to admit it to you, but internally, if he has a rational mind, he has to know that there's a God. And Christianity basically says, do you want to know that God? We have the personal, you know what I mean? It's like if you go to a country, and everyone's talking about the king, and you're like, oh, there has to be a king. There's crowns everywhere, and I don't know, everyone's talking about the king, but I don't know him personally. Then the king says, hey, you want to know me personally? You know that I exist because you're in my kingdom, but do you want to know me, be my friend? That's what Christianity, that's a steel man. There you go.
Another hindrance that happens all too often is that when we begin talking about one subject, and then sooner or later, as the conversation progresses onto a particular point, someone then switches to another subject when they say like, but that doesn't prove B, even though the initial subject wasn't about B, it was about alpha. So that hinders progress of the conversation.
Not bad.
So how
The original thing of
how is
common
Gregory doing so far in accordance with Geo's desire?
Dude, that's not
I think it's pretty good.
Okay.
Well, an evaluation is kind of good to have now.
I mean, from what I'm getting from the Christians, like Gregory, right, is basically just from what you guys take from Romans 2, right, that the Gentiles have the law written on their hearts, essentially, right? That's where most of this is coming from. You're saying that those tribes there, they may not directly have heard of, the oral tradition story of Moses and all that and Jesus, but they have the law written on their hearts still because God made them that way, according to Romans 2, right?
No, they do things
that's a part of it.
contained in the law. They do things contained in the law. They are a law unto themselves, but they do not adhere to the entirety of the law. So, depending on what nation you're speaking of, even
I understand what you were saying there. I guess I just said it wasn't appropriate because it just seemed like it was maybe going to go into meta stuff, and we were just trying to stay on this topic.
even the wicked people.
But yeah, I appreciate.
Can you hear North?
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. No.
Even,
No, I'm just saying maybe you can hear him. Maybe like a mic thing.
I couldn't hear him. Go ahead.
Yeah, even the wicked people give good gifts to their children, but there comes a point where even the wicked people will not give good gifts to their children. So, and they will not adhere to the law. So the law has been from the very beginning. And even when you get into Christianity, there's the big question: has this new faith and has this faith now made void the law? And the answer is, God forbid. We establish the law. It's not void due to this faith. So it's not some different idea. The law is from the beginning, and it's to the end. And even the Gentiles who had not the law did things contained in the law, but that doesn't mean they did the entirety of the law and understood it. They just did it because it's fair to say wicked people give good gifts to their children. However, we're living in days now where it's more and more prevalent that they don't give good gifts to their children. Yeah.
Gio, can you hear him now?
Yeah, I had to leave and rejoin.
Okay. Look, I think the issue here is, and we can talk about this calmly, right, is the idea of morality strictly being tied to Christianity. I'll fight back against that all the time. It's not because I don't respect your Christianity. It's just that I don't agree with it.
What's a moral?
Why?
Wait. Clearly talking. Stop bulldozing me constantly, and then I get muted. Gregory, specifically.
Oh, it's not that bullshit, bro.
Stop bulldozing me.
Careful. Stop for 1 second. Noah, here, listen, Noah, just really quick. Noah, you're a little bit robotic. There's a little bit of a delay. We don't need to just jump to the conclusion that someone's trying to interrupt you. It was your turn to speak. Go ahead.
I know you said it.
You guys started at the same time. You started at the same time, and
it was like what Gio just said. Damn.
Anyways, what is immoral? If I could, have a one-on-one with Steve for 30 seconds. And what is immoral about Christianity? And I'm using my Christianity, not Hebrew roots or whatever these guys have. So.
Hold on, your mic is getting muffled.
Yeah.
The last we heard is you want to have a 30-second one-on-one with Essie, but you got to fix your mic and then go ahead.
What is immoral about the Christian God, Essie?
I never said that the Christian God is immoral.
Can I make the argument that he's immoral? If SE doesn't want to, can I make the argument?
Dude, he just said it was a 30-second one-on-one with SE. Can you check?
Sorry.
All right, you can go next.
Bro, I never said that the Christian God is immoral. I'm merely questioning the assumption that morality came from Christianity. That's all I'm saying.
Well, no, yeah, the Christians don't believe morality came from them. They think it came from their God, right?
Well, that's what I mean. Yeah.
So if you don't, so the Christians believe morality came from God. So if you could point out something immoral about the God, then you would have an argument against Christianity and their.
Well, that wasn't my argument, bro. My argument was, how about the people that didn't know Christianity? Did they not have morality? That's my whole point.
I mean,
God gave morality to everyone.
Look, hang on, because I know what his thing is. He's just not saying it quite accurately. What he's saying is the very concept of morality is known by many people, independent of God, right? Or independent of Christians. Okay? You're just asserting your contradictory worldview contrary to ours, right? There is no concept at all. There's no abstracta at all without God. Everyone is thinking the God's thoughts after him. Okay. Now, of course, you don't believe these things, But this is what happens. We state the worldview, we clarify the worldview to you, we understand your position, and then what you do is you just repeat your worldview rather than saying arguments to try and refute our worldview or prove yours. Now, I don't want that to happen. I want the conversation to actually progress forward to some conclusion. Right? So obviously you don't believe our worldview that God is the logos, the Greek word, right, that the Apostle John used, which is a very key and important term that the ancient Grecian philosophers used for centuries to talk about the overarching and all-enveloping and ubiquitous reason and purpose and design and intelligence and vitality of the world. Right? That's what they use. But what they assert to be logos, all these other things besides God, John is like, no, Yahweh is the logos, the one who made the world, regulates the world, instantiated intelligibility of the world, gives us our intellect, and all these things. Right? So there would be nothing, including any abstract, including morality, without God.
Okay, I had something I was going to add to something a little different, but I see, were you going to respond to that?
Go ahead. We're just going around in circles. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say that, you know how there's some folks who are like atheists or agnostic, they may have some morals, but maybe they're doing immoral things. Then they find a religion or spiritual perspective, let's say in this case Christianity, and then they use the moral code from, let's say, Christianity to then say that now they're being moral. Now, in that case, they didn't have the Christianity before. They were, let's say, immoral, or they were doing immoral things. They found Christianity, and now they're on a better path towards morality. In that case, they didn't have it, and then, you know, and then the Christianity is what helped them, you know, in the word, let's say, to understand something further. Like people in prisons and all that, you know, some claim they came to the Bible or Jesus, etc., through after being a criminal and so on. Now, I've been kind of using that as an analogy to say that that's sort of like before Christianity and then after. So why, if the God was already there and already in their heart and all that stuff, why were they immoral in the first place? If God was there, if it was there the whole time.
Well, that's a freaking good one, bro. That's a good one.
So the question is, why were they corrupt sinners if God made them and revealed himself to them in the sense of general revelation, including the instantiation of his law in their conscience? Is that your question?
Say that again. I'm not sure I understand what you said.
You're asking, well, if God was there, which I hope is a reference to the worldview that we're talking about, right? In other words, if God is concretely real and did reveal himself ubiquitously and did make himself known to everyone without excuse throughout all creation, including the creatures, including humans who are his creations, and including instantiating his law in their conscience, then why are they corrupt sinners who did what they did and needed to improve their behavior?
In a way, yeah. Like, why, if the God was already there before they came to the Christianity or the book and so on, why were they being immoral in the first place? If the God should have already communicated the moral code to them in some way through their consciousness or something.
See, I'm going to say this answer again because I've already answered this question. Because humans are corrupt and they make their stupid decisions according to their evil whims.
Wow. Just wow. So I take it then that you argue by your faith that the only basis for rational thought is that it's impossible to meaningfully prove or debate Christianity without first presupposing the truth of the God. So you're saying now that there's no neutral grounds for debate between the Christian and the non-Christian because the non-Christian is categorically incoherent.
What?
Let's just let Gio apply to what I said.
Oh, he's evading the point.
That is precisely what he does, though, bro. You nailed him.
Yeah,
nailed to the cross.
No, nothing that Siak said had anything to do with what Gio and Gregory were talking about.
Yes, it was just exposing his bias. But forget that.
Can Gio speak, please?
Yes, he can, Gio. Please.
All right. Yeah, so I understood what you said, Gregory. Now, let me ask this. You're saying people are corrupt. Now, why is it that some are not corrupt without the Bible? Like, why is it that some seem to have moral codes either from different traditions, different religions, the Vedas, the Hindu, Buddhist, all kinds of other traditions, or let's say, they say shamans, like, 50 to 100,000 years ago, the shamans were on the earth and they were taking plant medicines and learning morality from the plants and getting insight and understanding. They didn't rape, they didn't kill, they didn't steal, they didn't insult each other, they didn't do any of that. They lived in tremendous peace. And if any of them had any conflicts or issues, they would go to the plant, in the plant. So what I'm saying here now is that let's say with no Christianity at all, there are people that are immoral, and I understand what you're saying, that they're corrupt. And I know from the Christian worldview, like the idea of like that God gave them free will, but God can't really control them, so they can go against God's thing, and which kind of means that God is not omnipotent. He's not all powerful if you can't have power over everyone. But that's a whole nother. It's a whole nother thing. But nonetheless, I understand the idea of free will, and then they're corrupt. But now let me flip it to the other side. Why is it that there are people without any Christianity, no Bible, nothing, and they have really, really solid morals, and they still don't have the Bible?
Whatever morals they have, they came from God, and there's no one who is guiltless.
You're just presuming that. There's a epistemic bait and switch, and you're smuggling that in.
Okay, let's Gio,
who's an example of that, Gio?
Well, I'm just trying
to.
Well, where is it at? Okay, let me. Wait, you're asking who I'm talking about? What do you mean?
I'll try again. I said whatever morals they have, right? They came from God. Everyone gets the moral law from the God.
Okay.
The moral laws come from God. Is the first part. And secondly, there is no one who is guiltless. There's no antichrist unbeliever you're going to find that is morally perfect. Not
All right, then
possible.
let me ask you this. Okay, then does this Christian Yahweh God, does it speak through the following? Does it speak through plants in nature, like ayahuasca, peyote, etc.? Number one. Does it speak through the Vedas? Does it speak through Islam? Does it speak through Buddhism, Hinduism? I could go on and on. Does it speak through these other traditions? That's my question to Gregory.
No.
It doesn't speak through anything that contradicts what he has revealed. Now, I mean, as a concern, to go to the first question,
It doesn't speak to any of those traditions.
Yahuwah
Well, if you're
speak
Christian, you
through
think that.
plants?
Hold on, bro. Let him speak.
Does Yahuwah speak through plants? I mean, that's an ambiguous question. It's a vague question. I mean, in one sense, you have an instance where someone consumes one of these hallucinogenic plants, right, or these psychedelic plants, right? The God can then communicate to them, but it wasn't as though the plant was a necessary means. It's not even a preferable means, nor even a prescribed means. It just so happens that whatever given number of humans that this has happened, they consume these psychedelics, these hallucinogenic substances, and the guy decided to communicate to them by some means. But it wasn't prescribed by him to do that. It wasn't even preferred by him to do that, nor is it necessary.
Well, then why did he make those plants?
Well, it didn't necessarily make them for us to consume in the first place. Those plants are a food source for other beasts.
But animals and humans eat them. Animals eat them in the wild.
I didn't eat and food are not the same.
Oh my God! The minutia of your language reduces the flow of
Are you
everything.
serious?
It's criminal. It's criminal, even in the eyes
Oh
of God.
my God, bro.
All right, can we just hold on? We could go on to plant medicines. It's obviously an interest of mine, but I didn't really bring it up to go into it. We could, but it's got its own.
But Gio, the answer is no.
I
You have other traditions.
did want to
The
ask.
answer is
Guys,
no,
I'm not.
bro.
Hold on, I wasn't finished speaking. We could go into that, but what I was trying to, or we could not. I wasn't even really trying to go into it. But Gregory, just to finish this point, okay, what I'm asking, specifically with this morality thing, if you have, let's say, 10 different groups, you have a group over here, they do ayahuasca in the jungle. And let's say they have excellent morals, amazing morals. They don't rape, they don't kill, they don't all that stuff, right? You have that group. Then you have another group that study the Vedic scriptures. And let's say they also have impeccably solid, really good morals along the lines with, the highest moral law kind of thing. And then you have another group of XYZ, right? You have 10 of these different groups. Now, some of them, let's say, have, peak excellent morals. Now, let's say there's another 10 groups of those same, another 10 groups who have just horrific morals, just corrupt as can be. Some of these, you hear about some of these tribes in Africa that do horrible things to each other, whatever. Right now you have that, like there's one that genitally mutilates the women, etc. Now, I think circumcision is genital mutilation, which is wrong too, which is one of the reasons, that the Bible can't be the correct moral code if it has that in it. But nonetheless, I'm sorry to detract. Okay, I guess my main thing I'm trying to get to is if you have these other groups, some of them use plants, some of them use Vedic scriptures, some of them use all kinds of things, and they have the correct moral code, and then other ones that are corrupt. If the God you're talking about, or God as it were, only speaks through the Christian books, why is it that all these other groups seem to have high level of morals and they don't have the Bible, and then other ones don't have bad morals and they don't? Is God speaking through the Vedic scriptures, that your God as it were, or is God speaking through the plant medicine, etc.? That's my question. Because why do some of them have the moral code and other ones don't? All without the Bible. That's the end of my question.
I've already answered this. So I'm going to say this answer again because I've already answered that. The God has instantiated his law into the conscience of everyone. Some people are worse than others. Some people have more grace from God than others as it concerns this, that, or the third. Some people
Grace
are
comes
worse
from
than
Christ,
others.
bro. Non-Christians don't have grace.
Some people are worse than others. They're more behaved than others. But wherever any given person falls in that spectrum, whatever good behavior they do, they're doing that good behavior according to the moral law that God instantiated into their conscience.
Okay,
it's not
so it's
independent of
in
God.
their conscience. So you're saying it's in their conscience. It's some part of them, so you're saying some of them have a conscience that they can hear from the God you're saying, and some of them can't hear it? Or what makes the difference?
Oh, it's a part of our conscience. It's a part of our nature. Right? We are built with this knowledge. Some people are worse with their suppression of the truth than others. Some people's impulses are stronger and more heinous than others. So everyone falls along that spectrum from more or less worse. But wherever you find yourself on that spectrum, they are all creatures made by God who's instantiated his law into their conscience. Sometimes accusing them, sometimes excusing them, like the Apostle Paul explains in Romans 2.
Okay, so let's go off that. So in terms of the conscience you're talking about, now if there's one of these groups who, let's say the ones who genitally mutilate women, which I would say is absolutely morally wrong in my viewpoint. So now that group, they fall asleep every night. And what if their conscience doesn't seem to indicate there's anything wrong with it? They're going to wake up the next day and do their next mutilation. And then the next day they're going to fall asleep and sleep well, and they're going to do their next mutilation. And they're doing it day after day. And then there's another group, let's say the shamans in the jungle, and they use ayahuasca, and they one of the persons does steal something, and then they go, they do a thievery or something, let's say, and then the shaman gives them ayahuasca, and then the ayahuasca shows them how stealing is wrong or something to that effect. Or even if you just take the ayahuasca out of it, let's just say that there's another group who do have when they fall asleep at night, they think, oh wow, I'm doing something wrong. So like why is God, from your viewpoint, not speaking through the person who's going to sleep ready to mutilate another woman in the morning, whereas the other people, God is speaking through them where they actually have a conscience that's registering to where they realize what they did was wrong?
It's not that God is failing or refusing to do anything. I just told you. People decide according to their whims, and humans are inconsistent. So people decide according to their whims. People are inconsistent. Some people are worse than others. Some people have worse, more heinous impulses than others. Regardless,
Gio, can I ask him
is
a quick
accusing them.
question on
Sometimes
that?
the conscience is excusing them.
I want to ask you about this,
Gregory,
about the drug thing. Though.
Gregory, you talked about.
I guess couldn't get through.
You guys hold on. All right, okay. So Jake wants to get in. So let me just. So are you saying that that some people have a conscience that is connected to God's law and others don't?
That's not my point.
Can I ask? I want to ask about this drug thing just to get a clarification. Is the ayahuasca is this adding? Like I mean, in the idea of it, is it adding and revealing something, or is it removing something so that you can see clearly? Like what's the presupposition with that?
I mean, I'm tentative to go in because that's an entire topic in and of itself, and I don't want to just answer something complex like that in one like quick thing. So if we
That
want
was
to
a
go
cool question, though. It was cool.
It is a good question. I mean, I just don't want to try to answer it in one quick thing while a bunch of people want to get in. If you want to go back and forth on it, though, we could at some point for like a few minutes.
Well, the only reason I thought it might be relative in that is like is it if it's revealing something, like then it's saying, well, like then it takes the position in the argument that the drug is, or the ayahuasca plant is actually communicating, where if you take the position that it is I guess removing something that you're holding up, and it's like kind of taking that away, then it goes to the argument by Gregory that people are kind of just due to their own injustices not allowing the revelation to come through. So that's why it kind of seems relevant.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the quickest answer is it could be said it does both. I mean, it can bring something new, like a revelation or an insight, but then it also can remove like toxins or blockages or some kind of a toxic energy or viewpoint. So I mean, that might be the quickest way to respond. I mean, it can bring something new and revelatory to the person, or it can remove a blockage or remove something that was inhibiting them. I guess that'd be the quickest way to answer it.
Appreciate it.
I wanted to get to Gregory real quick. Would you, because you talked about inconsistency, that these other methods have inconsistency in their morality. Is the Christian morality ever inconsistent? Gregory?
I don't know. Maybe he had to step away. Looks like he's locally muted.
I'm sorry, I was speaking while I was muted. So I don't like the sloppy terminology. Are you asking, is there any inconsistency in the God's law? Is that your question?
I said, is Christian morality ever inconsistent? Because you criticize these other beliefs that Gio was talking about. Sorry.
I said I don't like the sloppy terminology. So I said, are you asking, is there any inconsistency in the God's law?
No, that's not what he asked.
I think it's pretty clear. I said, is Christian morality ever inconsistent?
Okay, look, the reason I'm saying what I'm saying is because Christian, quote unquote, is not the focus.
The answer is no.
The apostles. God damn. So the reason I'm saying what I'm saying is because Christian, quote unquote, is not the focus. But the apostles themselves weren't Christians. They didn't call themselves that. Christianism, the whole circle of the whole category, didn't begin with God, didn't begin with the apostles. So just delete it, right? It's not even a thing in the apostolic scripture. So the only thing we have here, really, is the God's law in the scriptures. Is there any consistency there? No. And I'm not talking about principio doctrinal inconsistency. I'm talking about inconsistent behavior. So you didn't even get the point in the first place.
So is there ever a time where it's okay for someone to take an innocent baby or a child in front of you and bash their brains in? Is there ever, under Christian morality or under God's morality, under Yahweh's morality, is there ever a time where it's okay to take a child and then bash its brain in, even though it's just an innocent, helpless child in front of you, sitting on the ground? Is there ever a time where it's okay for you to bash their brain in?
When did God command that in scripture?
Hang on. I know why he's asking that, right? Because he's going to appeal to the passage in the Psalms where Davi is talking about that, where he is expressing his
No,
indignation
I was going to bring
against
up
his
the.
enemies, where he's
I was going to
expressing
bring
his
up the
indignation
Amalekites. I was going
against
to
his
bring up the
enemies,
Amalekites, to be clear,
where he's
Gregory.
expressing his indignation against his enemies for doing that. And as it's mentioned elsewhere in the passages of Scripture, these are instances of the God's curse befalling whatever given nation.
Well, no, God commands Saul to go. God commands Saul to go and not spare anyone, kill both man and woman, child, and infant, ox and sheep, camel and donkey. Right? God commanded Saul to do that, and when Saul actually
What
didn't
did I
kill
just say?
everything he
Did I
wanted to,
predict
he
that you would
condemned
appeal
him
to
for that. I'm
that?
sorry.
What did I just say? What did I just say? Did I not predict that you would appeal to that?
Right, but I want to know if this Christian morality is so superior. You're saying that there are times under Christian morality where it's okay to bash a child's brain in.
So these are instances of a God's curse befalling sinners.
So then what you're saying is there are times where it's okay for man to go and bash an innocent child's brain in. If God says, okay, I'm going to curse these people, never mind everything I said about my morality. There's times, in this particular time, you can find a child and then bash its brain in. Even though it's just an innocent, helpless child, it's okay for you to bash their brain in with a stick.
I'm sorry, so innocent, helpless child. See, I don't have to take for granted these presuppositions. So let's say if you were going to argue, for your presupposition. So you think infants, understandably, you think infants are innocent as in did not do any evil, are not guilty of any sin at all, in any sense? Yes?
In my eyes, under my morality, yes. Under my morality, there is never a time where you can take an infant and bash its brain in with a stick.
Okay. But God says all are guilty, though. So you're wrong.
No.
Wait,
no.
So Jake, what is the time in the Bible where it said it's okay to do this?
This is under 1 Samuel 15 when he commands Saul, the first king of Israel, he commands him to go and kill everyone of the Amalekites. He said, like I said, now go and strike Amalek and devote to destruction all that they have. Do not spare them, but kill both man and woman, child and infant, ox and sheep, camel and donkey. This was God's command to go and bash the brains in of little children. And under this incredibly moral God, there are times where he said, look, these people are fucked. They're cursed. So go ahead and normally don't bash a child's brain in, but this time I give you my blessing. These people are cursed. Go and bash their brains in.
Okay, let me challenge one of your presuppositions, right? Where in the Bible did it say anything like, you shall never, to use your rhetoric, bash a baby's brains in?
Isn't it under the 10 Commandments? Thou shalt not kill?
Oh, see, there it is, right?
Thou shalt
The
not
passage
murder.
actually says, you shall not murder.
But it's an innocent baby, dude. So, I mean, what is it?
Is it?
Well,
right?
that's the question. I'm trying to work out how it's.
Now I'm not going to be able to answer. This is what happens, right? Now I can't answer. Now I can't answer.
Let Greg answer, bro.
You see, I don't have to take for granted. I know this is repugnant to people. It's not as though I'm glad to say these things, but I'm not going to sacrifice the coherency and the consistency and the accuracy of what is being taught in the scriptures just to appeal to your sensibilities. That is not my priority. So
the standard is coherent.
Is it the case?
Is it not coherent? It's incoherent, right?
Hold on, everybody just stop. You guys, Tarek is next, Rixky, so just let Gregory finish, and then let Rixky go next, and let's go from there.
Okay. So like I'm trying to finish. Is it the case that there are some humans, such as infants, who are guiltless in any sense, who have not committed any sin in any sense? Is that the case? Because the God indicts everyone of being guilty. Because the law doesn't only concern what you do with your muscles, like you moving your arms and your legs around and doing some evil thing. It doesn't only concern that. It concerns the psyche also, the mind and the heart.
All right, before Rixky goes, Jake, did you want to respond to that real quick? Since it was...
Yeah, I just want to say it takes something like religion to take something that's obviously an absolute horror and justify it and tell you that there's a time where it's okay to take an innocent baby and say that there is some corruption in that baby that you can't see, even though it's a helpless baby, and it's okay to bash their skull in. Like you said, if any book has something in there where it's okay to mutilate children's genitals, it cannot be a book from God. If you have a book that says that there are times where it's okay to bash a baby's head in, only a religion can make you completely violate your humanity to do something so horrific that we all know in our hearts is horrific.
Yes, Gregory, you're appealing to apathy.
Hold on, you guys. Rixky is next. Hold on, we're just trying to complete this real quick. So, but can I just, Rixky, before you go, can I just say, wasn't it on the between killing and murder? So, is the claim here that when it says that in that verse you're talking about, Jake, that they're saying that that's killing, not murder, and it's justified because God said it was okay? Is that kind of what that sums up to? What they're saying?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's Gregory's argument, is that because these people were deemed cursed by God, therefore they are guilty of some kind of a sin, even the babies, and so therefore you can kill them, and it's not murder.
Even the animals.
Even
animals are guilty.
I'll just say that's an incredibly slippery slope, to say the least. But let's let Rixky go. At least let him just get in. Go ahead.
I mean, you guys are basically covering all the question that I wanted to ask, is essentially like the guilt of that baby and how it's ascertained is through the Godhead, but the Godhead is interpreted through the book. So at that point, I can't quite work out how we individually determine whether or not that baby's innocent or not, or you're not you've just got a bunch of zealots labeling like anything that exists and walks upon this earth is already guilty, and so therefore has prejudice against it. And it's just up to the whims of the Godhead and those who interpret it as to like whether or not that action would be taken out on the baby. I don't get how you guys swear any of this.
So let's
y'all
be
know,
precise.
do y'all know what was the whole reason why God told Saul to destroy them completely?
So far as we are aware at the moment, what we've been told by Gregory is that God accused them of guilt and original sin. That's all that Gregory has offered up in this discussion.
It's related to the departure of the.
So I'll ask him a question so I could clarify. So what happened is when Israel left Egypt and they were traveling through desert and somewhere in this place called Rephidim, Amalek, the son of the Amalek, came and attacked Israel with magicians, thousands of men, and conjurers.
And babies.
And hold on. So, because of the battle, even though God gave Israel the win, God told Moses to write down that the Amaleks will be taken out of under heaven. In other words, all his lineage will be taken out.
They're made extinct.
So
yeah, I don't think that I could ever bring myself to kill. I'm just like saying, unless if there was some booming voice from the sky that like shook me to my core to the point where there was no doubt that it was God. I don't think I could ever do it.
Let me get in eventually. After you go after me. Well, this was God was talking to Moses directly and told him write this in Joshua's hand that this is gonna happen. And then Moses got told by the prophet Samuel to tell Saul, you need to destroy them. And as a curse as he didn't destroy them, he got thrown down from his throne for not doing what God asked.
All right, but let me jump in. But people hear voices in their head. People hear voices in their head, whether that's like schizophrenic, demonic, whatever it is. So how have you delineated that that's quote unquote God, or how did he delineate that that's God and not some voice in his head or some demonic whatever that's telling him to go do this?
Well, that was the one that took them out of Egypt. That was the God that opened the Red Seas, the God that had a pillar of fire behind it, the God that they heard that Israel. I'm answering that it wasn't a voice on his head. It was according to the whole everybody in Israel, according to the scripture, it was God, and they were scared that even the Israelites says, "Don't let him only talk to you," because they were shivering every time God spoke in the mountain, and they told him, "You talk to us," and yada yada yada. But it was God, and then Abraham Samuel was a prophet that also, according to scriptures, this is just going by the scriptures, was a lot of things was prophesied, and he did and whatnot. So
this is by definition hate
for what
speech.
it's worth. For what it's worth, from an Islamic perspective, this is an absolute corruption of the Torah given to Musa.
Can I get in line? I just want to say, maybe.
I think Lion.
Hold on.
After Lion, go ahead. Sorry.
I appreciate it. Well, this is a very important thing to consider if you're going to evaluate the text and do an internal critique of it and a proper exegesis, extraction of what the text is saying. You'd have to understand that the Amalekites are, and they show up in numbers. They show up in the Exodus account when Israel sends out the spies, right? And they actually see the Amalekite tribes. And it says in Numbers 13, the Amalekites dwell in the land of the south, and there we saw the giants, the sons of Anak, which come of the Nephilim. So the Amalekites being mentioned here, that God commands Israel to completely obliterate and annihilate, are a genetic mutant race of beings that are gigantic and cannibalistic in nature. That would probably be a good thing to include that, would it not? In your assessment,
that was also. Is that where you got your name from?
Line. Many tribes in history do have stories of the giants, including Native Americans. It's not just the Hebrews that had the stories of the giants and the hybrids. The Native Americans also had stories of them coming to eat their tribe members, and they would capture and kill the giants. But in terms of the baby thing, God was expressing indignation towards the king who was doing that. He was not okay with the king. He even expressed his hatred towards the king that was doing that to the bashing babies or whatever. Yeah, I have those verses I could read as well. And then one last thing in terms of schizophrenia, because it's so ironic that Gio just mentioned that. My husband's here and he's on the phone with another med student. Y'all know my husband's a med student. And he was saying that he's in the psych rotation right now. And he had a patient come in there who had schizophrenia and said, he used to have bad voices and stuff. And now he became Christian and the schizophrenia has subsided. And the dude made a YouTube channel about it. So it's just really ironic. But I think God can help cure people. That's a true story. It just happened. The guy's still on the phone.
So the original question.
Gio talks about, that's schizophrenic and whatnot. But yet when he takes ayahuasca and he has this spiritual thing, it's okay though. right?
I didn't say it was schizophrenic. I asked you, how is it delineated from schizophrenia or demonic voices? That's what I asked. I didn't say it was. I wouldn't.
Yeah, how
claim
do you
to-
tell the difference? And the original question was the morality of killing babies.
Yeah, I think I had chimed in. Like, I think the entire room, or like maybe the entire world at the moment, would agree. Like, there's like we can't kill babies. Like, nobody would do it, right? But like, if it was this, I don't know. I'd have to imagine this strange scenario where a booming voice came from the sky. Everybody heard it separately and agreed upon it. Then you go to look, and there's giants or some kind of mutant. You'd be like, I guess. And then some other things. But like, if that was it, I don't know. Like, would you?
I mean, I guess
that
that's
literally
the text. Y'all would get mad what happened to Egypt, and like so many firstborn were dead, and then also what happened to in what is that? Oh my God, the rain fire Sodom and Gomorrah. There were a bunch of babies there too.
So let's clarify. Let's clarify. So the latest point we're on, right, is obviously the very emotionally disturbing issue that is infants dying. Okay, no one here, I hope, I'm going to operate with the assumption that everyone is emotionally disturbed at this. Right, this is the horrible consequences of sin. Now, the issue is, I'm giving an answer that's consistent with the worldview that is being articulated in the scriptures. Right, if all humans are corrupt, which includes infants, of course, because infants, born or unborn, are indeed humans and living persons, are corrupt and guilty of sin. If not for any action they did with their arms and legs and whatnot, but in their very psyche, then all humans deserve the penalty for sin. And so the God is just to execute his wrath whenever he pleases. And no one deserves to be given paradise or any rewards.
So if you are corrupt, why should we listen to you, Gregory? I mean, is this idea coming from a person who is in themselves corrupt and trying to sort of rejuvenate that? Or is it the corruption itself speaking?
Okay, so your answer, your question, my answer. Why should you believe the things I told you? Because the God has obliged everyone to obey him, which includes knowing and adhering to the truth.
Can I ask
it's your determination
check after this?
Am I appealing to myself to prove or know these things? Of course not.
You don't think
you have to make an attack on Gregory?
Yeah, I don't know. You don't have to.
He's just answering a question that were being asked to him.
Yeah, but can I ask specifically to people who brought this up, like Jake, Left Lane, Paza, anyone who actually brings this up as an argument? Do you guys support abortion?
No, deflection.
Oh yeah. No, it's a question. It's a real question.
Yeah, I'm not talking about abortion right now.
Why not?
It's misplacing the curtain. You're attempting to avoid the very fact.
Hypocrisy.
Yeah, but it's not in question. What we think about it is not in question. We're talking about morality in the Bible. That's what we're talking
about.
about.
Just asking you a question about it. Do you support abortion?
I mean, you guys can keep going down the path.
It's not a simple answer, and it'll change the subject. We're talking about morality in the Bible.
Okay, that's all right. You guys can keep talking about the Bible then for a long time. Then, all right.
The reason why I kind of asked
you guys,
the reason.
Go ahead. I mean, I would say somebody could respond to it. I could respond to it, or Paz.
I tried to. Yeah. Gio,
give your answer, Gio. I mean, everybody else don't want to respond.
So you're just as murderous as the God you despise, Paza. How dare you? Shame on you.
I am, yes. But then I'm not putting myself up as an arbiter of perfection. That'd be hypocritical.
Regardless, you think the God is unjust to kill babies? You advocate the killing of babies that you haven't murdered one yourself.
No, I haven't murdered one myself. No, I don't advocate it. I don't mind if other people have an abortion.
So you don't mind. So you don't mind if people murder babies.
No, neither does God. Neither does God.
The worm turn.
Neither does God, does he?
All right,
no, you have it wrong. Hold on. Just
drowned all the babies at one point.
Let's try again.
Gregory, he drowned all the babies in the world at one point.
Yeah, I'm gonna reply.
For kicks
and
giggles.
Here's my reply. Right? He doesn't advocate murder ever at all.
He drowned all the babies on one.
That's not murder.
Oh, what's that?
He also commanded.
Childcare, is it?
He also commanded someone to
just wrath. Watch.
All right, are you guys gonna let Gio come in or not? Hold on, Gregory.
Yeah, let's just make it clear. Last point, right? He advocates abortion. He doesn't mind people murder babies. Well, your God doesn't mind. No. He abhors murder, and nor did he ever murder. And the examples or the historical incidents that you're referring to is not an instance of the God murdering anyone. So you're wrong. Go ahead, Gio.
Drowning isn't murder.
Yeah, and you know there are people telling me that it is a tu quoque. I specifically know that. I definitely know that. I was just trying to basically see where you guys stand, like bringing up like the fact that the Bible has basically a big old thumbs up on killing the what is it? The Amalek? How do you say it? The Amaleks?
Yeah, we're not in.
Well, just to fix that, really quick, Peter. Basically, it's
the Bible's morality.
Yeah, well, you say that, but it's a tu quoque fallacy if this is a true internal critique But if it's an external critique, which is, by our morality, this book doesn't match what we think is moral, that's an external critique. So then it would be perfectly valid for someone to ask, well, are you guys okay with abortion? So if it's an internal critique, Beast, yes, that would be a two cocaine fallacy. But if it's an external critique that they're doing, is not, because their specific worldview is important. That's what they're weighing against the Bible. Right?
Yeah, I don't think abortion is good at all whatsoever. But if somebody's able to like entertain that there is some kind of reasonable justification for abortion, then are you guys also saying you can't imagine a reasonable justification for God, having the babies put down, or however you want to put it?
This is what happens to all.
I was trying to get in before lunch.
I got next.
So it's like saying I'm a software creator, right? I create software, and then I say I make an AI and have the AI be able to reproduce. What I, as the creator of that software and replicatable AI, decides to delete those AIs. What I see being moral, even when they became sentient or whatever, but I see they're being corrupt, blah 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 blah. Whatever happens, something is happening in their programming, and I decide to erase them. Would I be immoral for doing that? No, right? Because I'm the creator. I actually created those things, and I made it replicate, and I decided that I don't need these few things. It is an immorality case for as the creator, right?
Wow.
Yeah,
I'd like to get in whenever.
Yeah, but it was that this claimed God or creator told humans to go kill other humans. That was the difference. It's not him doing it.
What if I say to my other AI bots, just delete all these other bots?
Yeah,
it's still the same
RG,
thing.
Why didn't you just snap his finger and make it happen?
Lions next, then Beast, and then I was hoping to go in somewhere there.
The truth is, bro, this conversation is way too expansive to really break it down efficiently.
Yeah,
but all other ideologies in the world, monists, deists, Judaism, they all collapse. They're incoherent. They're self-defeating. Relative morality collapses. It's incoherent. It's inconsistent.
Delusions
You
of
can
grandeur.
clearly see that this guy, he's pro-choice, but yeah, he's critiquing the God of the Bible and strawmanning it at that. Go ahead.
But this is what happens right here. Is what happens when you turn.
Because lion doesn't have the right to
that
turns.
turns.
No, Greg,
the question. No, when the
Leftlane, you're both roboting and interrupting someone. I think there was a list.
Yeah, I think I was supposed to be next.
I think Beastocles was next, and then there was someone after. It was Rick. So it was Beastocles and then Rick's guy.
And then it's me.
Okay, you can go after me.
Then CX.
Well, Leftlane was trying to get in there too, though. I don't know if there was.
Then Leftlane.
Yeah, I was just. It is real quick. It's real quick. It's real quick. It was real quick. It's going to say what happened to the conversation. What happened to the conversation?
Everybody stop for a second. I was trying to let Leftlane go real quick. Leftlane go real quick, and then the rest of the list, because I don't know if there was a list. Well, maybe there was before. I don't know. Just go ahead.
I feel like the conversation was pretty concise until the Bible's morality or God's morality came into question, and it went sideways.
Thank you, Leftlane. And just to clarify, yes, there was a list, and you interrupted Lion, who was in the middle of speaking. He didn't finish. And yeah, it was Lion, then Beastocles, and then Martin Zinek said he expressed wanting to get in. Yeah, Leftlane did interrupt.
Yeah, so intellectual humanists, right? Relative morality is self-defeating. It's inconsistent. It collapses constantly. Eastern morality, like when it comes to monotheism, when it comes to Islam, Judaism, they collapse under a static monad. Dualism collapses. Polytheism collapses. Basically, everything collapses besides the Christian God. It is the only one that is eternally coherent.
Yeah.
Right? And if you actually analyze it logically, this is the truth, guys. But it's too expansive to really break it down efficiently. For brevity's sake, I won't be able to. But I assure you, if you research this, you will find the truth. Right? All other ideologies break down. They don't have a justification for morality itself. They don't have a justification for logic. They don't have none of that.
I do. I've got plenty of it.
All right, I think it's my turn now. Thanks, guys. Cool. All right, so the reason why I brought that up is because I'm perfectly fine with having a conversation about the internal critique of the Bible, right? And I think Jake is the one who initially brought up the question, right, about is there any inconsistencies with objective morality in the Bible? And then Gregory basically wanted to clarify. He's saying, are you saying that is there any inconsistencies with God's law? And the answer is no. Why is it no? And then you guys brought up basically the slaughter of the Amaleks, right? Now, you guys can say that's bad, that's fine, whatever, but are we going to still keep on the internal critique of the Bible, right, to show any inconsistencies? Or are you just guys saying like, oh, there's murder in the Bible, therefore bad? And if you're going to do that, then that's why I brought up abortion. So if anyone in here supports abortion, then you can't bring that up as an example.
We can.
It's a very good refocus. Very good refocus.
And then I think Rick's guy was after B's Getter, so.
hopefully I can articulate it. I just want to put forward something of a dilemma that I have from an observer sort of sitting outside, right? And you brought up the issue of abortion. And I'm imagining, is it the Amalekites that were murdered within the Bible justifiably despite their innocence as babies and whatnot? Is that correct?
No one
I
is
think so.
innocent.
Yeah. So my issue then becomes, okay, so someone comes along, they've in the modern era, in the time now, we've got a dilemma, right? Someone comes along and says that there's this, these people over there that are like the Amalekites, analogous to them of that of the Bible. The God has spoken to that person, feels like they've been informed that those people need to be gone and like murdered. Now, me, like as a sort of I don't know what you got, like a non-believer, I suppose, is sitting here going like, how do I work out whether this guy is actually engaging in good faith with the Bible, whether they're mentally deranged or not, and whether or not they should be stopped? Because if you're saying it's like, well, it's because of the Bible and the Godhead like justifies it so, and it's a good thing because that's what your interpretation of that, because we're all going just with our own interpretations, right? I don't understand how you guys would stop them. Like, how are you justified to stop them? I mean, do we work out whether they're mentally deranged or not? Is that based on some sort of assessment of their other biblical scripture? I don't know how you guys actually go about sort of enacting that.
Well, I think
Same
it's been
thing with
mentioned
everyone
before.
else.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Gregory.
Are you okay? You okay?
I was just going to say, I think it's been mentioned before, but there's prescriptive and descriptive things in the Bible, right? Like what is described, that's going on with Saul and David, essentially. It's an instruction for a specific circumstance, which is dealing with the Amaleks. I can't even pronounce it right, but you get what I mean? Like it's a specific, Amalekites. There you go. So it's a specific instruction for that specific group of people, or they might not even be people. They could actually be Nephilim hybrids, as some have speculated,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
Which would, lead credence to why God wanted them destroyed in the first place, because they're just basically,
Yeah, but I'm trying to ask, like, how do we place that dilemma now? Like, how do I stop someone
right,
who
but
has
that's
that
not.
opinion?
Well, that's the thing, though. It's like,
I have the answer for
this
asking questions about how we stop the limit now. Is that
Okay,
God, Jesus Christ is God. He gave us our covenant and our commandments.
Right, a new covenant, exactly. So there are specific instructions now.
Yeah, there are specific instructions, and they specifically say not to kill people. So,
right,
like, how would you know now? We have the instructions from Jesus Christ right now.
Exactly.
So someone else comes along and says, well, no, like my part of the Bible interpretation precedes yours. I don't believe in your Christ-like aspect. You can just disband with them and say, well, you must be wrong because of this. I mean, I just feel like they're wrong because
there's a church.
seems like
Jesus Christ established a church. Jesus Christ established a church. And if you disagree with the church, you're not a part of it.
So this is my answer, just a slickly concise answer, right? The same way you scrutinize everything else. Coherency, empirical adequacy, tenability, especially as it concerns this particular.
Hold on, Gregor, your mic is.
Yeah, your mic is getting kind of bad. I don't know what happened.
Yeah.
Hang on, I'll fix it.
But anyway, I'm perfectly fine with going down the Bible talk. Like, I mean, we can keep doing an internal critique. How long
wanted to get in, so go ahead, Dinact. I did think we had an agreement about the internal stuff, but all right.
I formally request to be given or provided the ability, since you ask for a critique, to preach a teaching of morality to the presuppositionalists. Thank you.
Can I ask that you also post it so we can read along with you?
Wait, are we doing?
I'm also ready to finish my answer.
Are we going for monologue?
Yeah, just let Gregory finish what he was saying because his mic was messed.
What I was going to say to you, Rick Scott, was the same way we scrutinize everything else: coherency, empirical adequacy, tenability. So, like for instance, like what you asked with the person coming along saying, "Well, God told me thus and so." You scrutinize it by the preceding revelation. You scrutinize it for it to be coherent. You scrutinize it to be empirically adequate, if that's applicable to whatever they're saying. You test it for its tenability, just like with everything else. And then someone comes along with another scripture. Now you apply the same thing I just said: coherency, empirical adequacy, tenability, they're consistent with the preceding revelation. And you also apply the historical critical method if they want to especially assert that it predates the apostolic scripture or any of the scriptures.
I still don't understand really how you presume that you are a higher judge, or I mean, presumably because you have 10 people on your side and that you think you all interpret the Bible better than that one individual who seems to have like something of a crazier interpretation, that you should be able to stop them.
That might be the case. That might be the case for Gregory and these other guys on this Discord. But as far as it goes for me, the Bible was created by the church. So the church actually comes before the scriptures, and they are the ones who would interpret the scripture. So it would be like the church was there. then they created the scriptures, and now they interpret it for you. And if a third party wants to come and interpret it, doesn't matter. They're not part of the church. The church is the original thing. The scriptures is the secondary.
Correct.
Okay, so what just happened was you asked the question, and then I explained, and then you said I don't understand. Right? You do this. You do this often.
Are we gonna let Siak get in, or do you want to respond real quick?
Hell no.
Was he shifting?
Well, unless
can I just in terms of wrapping up some of the loose ends a little bit, I kind of agree with the, just real quick, we don't have to go into it all, but with the abortion thing, I do understand what Left Lane was saying, that it could have been seen as a non sequitur. I know this is stepping back a few steps. I'll just say it briefly, and we don't have to kick into a whole thing on it necessarily, but Beast, if you want to respond. I mean, just to wrap up my thoughts on some of this real quick. Number one, this killing of the Amalekites thing. My one question is, would any of the Christians in here do that? Because Jake originally was saying, like, you know, killing a child or killing a baby kind of thing, bash their head, and he was saying like that kind of intense thing, and he was trying to say that in the Bible that you know, they were instructed to do this to the Amalekites. So like, one question is, would any of the Christians in here do that to another? Now I know there was a claim like, were they, you know, Nephilim hybrids, but I mean, if they're humans, they're not like a different species. So that's one question. Would anyone in here do that? And then secondly, I do think the abortion thing is a little bit different in a way, because there is the argument to be made that the baby in the woman is still a part of the woman's body and is not a separate human. And I know that could open the whole can of worms. And it's also like at a very, very infantile stage, you know, whereas like I'm just saying a baby in the womb of a mother could be argued as a part of her body and is not a separate human, you know, versus, you know, a 5-year-old or a 7-year-old. So those are.
But it has its own genetic code. It has its own individual genetic code that is.
Well, let's not get into that. Let's not get into that. And just to be clear,
could-
and I think Gregory would agree, there is nothing in the Bible at all. There is nothing in the scripture that would indicate that the Amalekites were Nephilim hybrid or anything non-human. They were always described as a human tribe, and I think Gregory would agree with that.
That's a bunch of bullshit, dude.
No.
I just read you the verse, dude, in the Torah.
The descendants of a man who was the son of Edom, but they eventually, sooner or later, as the generations multiplied, became these Nephilim, these corrupt souls, these hybrid corrupt souls.
Okay, well, and there are a lot of times you gotta understand that these names repeat, but you actually have Amalekites existing prior to Amalek, son of Esau.
And just to be clear, and I think Gregory would agree, there is nothing in the Bible at all. There is nothing in the scripture that would indicate that the Amalekites were Nephilim hybrid or anything non-human. They were always described as a human tribe, and I think Gregory would agree with that.
That's a bunch of bullshit, dude.
No.
I just read you the verse, dude, in the Torah.
Like the descendants of a man, the descendants of a man who was the son of Edom, but they eventually, sooner or later, as the generations multiplied, became these Nephilim, these corrupt souls, these hybrid corrupt souls.
Okay, well,
and there are a lot of times you got to understand that these names repeat, but you actually have Amalekites existing prior to Amalek, son of Esau. Son of
did they
Edom,
look like
right?
humans? Did they have arms? Legs? They were humans.
Are they in Gaza?
Some has 6
feet. Can someone point me to the book, either in the Bible, in the Old Testament, or where they say that
Numbers 13, verses 29 through 33. The Amalekites dwell in the land of the south, and there we saw the giants, the son of Anak, which come of the Nephilim. That's in Numbers 13.
Yeah, but that's not saying the Amalekites are Nephilim.
Oh, it's not.
Come on.
And you lack reading comprehension, sir. You need to go back to school.
So would any of the Christians in here do this? Would you genocide these people due to this?
It was commanded of me, like directly.
Yeah.
There was Canaanite tribes, bro. You have to understand there was Canaanite tribes that were cannibalistic in nature, just like the Native Americans and Anasazi talk about, dude. You'll take the Native American testimony, but if it comes from a Hebrew, it's invalid.
I'll say this. Just to stillman the actual kind of idea here, it's that the land was broken up and everyone agreed what land they were going to take. And then they all signed an agreement that if you took other people's land, it was like punishable by death. So everyone had their land divvied out. And then the Israelites were captured and taken captive, enslaved. And then they went and took their land while they were enslaved. And then they got freed, right? And they asked for their land back repetitively, tried to get them to leave, asked them to leave, to respect the agreement that they signed that was supposed to be bonded by death. And they refused. And this idea was that there were these like crazy giants that had taken over their land and were like basically eating people and doing all kinds of crazy things. And the Israelites were scared of them and didn't want to try to go take their land back. And then they were instructed to go do it, and they did it. People can argue whether or not you should have done that or whatever, but at least lay out like what the story says, and that's what it is.
Exactly. If you're gonna do an internal critique, just represent it correctly. Don't straw me in the Bible, dude. There was clans in Canaan in the Promised Land that were ferocious. Giants, cannibalistic in nature. A lot of them.
Did they say that in the Bible, though?
Yes, in the Bible. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We have.
They talk about the giants. I read about the giants. There's the giants, but they didn't talk about Nephilim.
Yeah, David killed one. Goliath.
I'm reading
stories.
I'm reading.
Goliath. Hold on, dude. I'm still talking. Goliath himself was from a line of Philistines that had interrelations with the Canaanite bloodlines. A whole group of giants. This was the reality in the Near East region a couple thousand years ago. Just because you guys are incredulous and don't believe it doesn't mean that you get to just straw man the Bible and gaslight and act like you're giving an accurate representation when you're not.
No, the Bible. No, I'm not trying to straw man anything. The verse that I just read said giants. Did not say anything. They were a powerful man. They didn't say anything about Nephilim or any kind of critter or crossbreed, anything.
So in some translations they say giants, but if you read the actual Hebrew, it says Ha-Nephilim.
Correct, and that means fallen. It means of the fallen. So they're like fallen angels came, took wives, made giants. But what's crazy is like, really think about the situation. So think that like you have these agreements with these crazy beings, right? That they have their own land. So they're like abominations, fallen ones came, took wives, made giants. They're cannibalistic. They're constantly like murdering your people and all humans and eating them and having children and babies sacrificed to them and all this crazy stuff. They're like giants, right? This is the story. And then you divvy out the land where they still get to have their own place. You have your own place. And then there's an agreement, right, that no one takes each other's land. Then you get enslaved. When you come back, you have nowhere to go to. And when you try to go back to your land, those giants are in your land and you have nowhere to go. And you're saying, yo, we had an agreement. Okay, whatever, you took it while we weren't here. At least give it back now. We have nowhere to go. And they refused and even turned on you, right, like they always do, and tried to eat you, try to take your women or whatever, and like just are cannibalistic. You repeatedly warn them to leave your place and remind them that the agreement was that this was like bonded by war and death specifically. And then they refused. And then the people were like, dude, we can't fight these people. I don't want to go do this, whatever. And then the creator says, no, you're going to go in there and you're going to do it and take the land back. And you have to basically have faith that I'm going to help you be able to do it. So like, if you put yourself in that scenario, the truth is, no, most of the room wouldn't do it. And it wouldn't be because of some moral thing. It'd be because I'm terrified of these crazy beings that are like eating humans and savages that are just, like, you know what I'm saying? So
If we look in Genesis, it says the Amalekites came from Amalek, the grandson of Isu, Jacob's twin brother. It doesn't say, they say they were ordinary humans based on that. They're not saying that they were from some other lineage. It says clearly in Genesis.
I just mentioned this. I just told you.
Why did he get clipped and overpulled? You guys,
because we just went through this, keep going in circles. So just these two things and then pass it off to Lauren. I just mentioned kind of three things. So Jake, I just told you that the genealogy, of course, records that the descendants of Amalek, one of the sons of Edom, along the way as they intermarried with these other nations, these hybrid corrupt souls, they themselves became these hybrid corrupt souls. That's simple. Secondly, it's important for Lion and Austin to emphasize these things because what usually happens is the rhetoric is clearly strong manning the story what the history actually is, and they usually convey this notion that, well, it's just these Canaanites and all these tribes of Canaanites, they're just benignly just going about their way, and all of a sudden these mean, malicious, heinous monsters, Israelites just devastating laws, heinous malice. That's not the case. And lastly, again, internal critique, not external critique. If you do an internal critique, you're not going to find incoherency. Unless you really think you will. Let's see if you do find incoherency. If you're just doing an external critique and taking your arbitrary starting point for granted, no one has to capitulate to that. Go ahead, Lon.
Yeah, real quick, and then I'll let you respond. I'll be brief. I just want to say, bro, I'm sure of what I'm saying, and I already brought this up. You're repeating yourself. You're talking about Amalek, son of Esau, right? An Edomite. But the thing is, if you look chronologically, right, there was Amalekite tribes that existed hundreds of years, right, before that person that you're referencing, Amalek, was born. Amalek was actually named after a previous patriarch. Right, that's why I mentioned that these names repeat. Right, the Amalek that you're referencing, right, it's logically irrelevant because there was already Amalekites in the land, in Canaan, the ancient land.
Right now, but that's ridiculous.
Well, the AI could probably ask that, but I don't have to give the thing that I created an explanation because I could see what's going on with them, or see that there's a problem that's going to be occurring in the future because of it. And besides, I just delete those bots. You know.
So the only issue with that is it paints this like kind of apathetic narrative, in my opinion. But that was kind of the point I was going to bring up. Is like the next question obviously brings to the table, and we're just speaking facts here. Worldwide flood. Creation is inevitable, thus the antecedent is creator. Creator allowed, worldwide flood, inevitable. So then you would maybe ask the logical follow-up of like, well, I mean, does the creator care about us, right? And kind of like what you're describing, you know, that sounds like it could be a situation where it's just apathy and it's like pragmatic and experimental and detached and stuff like that. I do not have that spiritual experience. Like I have quite the opposite. I have the experience that the creator is absolutely personable, benevolent, loves us, cares about us. I think that this is reflected throughout creation itself. And I think that you can actually go and verify it directly with the source. So it depends on maybe your spiritual journey and how you interpret that. I know there are a few people in the room that think that the creator may be apathetic and it's similar to an ant farm and they can be all excited about their ant farm, but they can care less about the individual ants or whatever. That is not my experience. So if you are the kind of person that's had a spiritual experience or journey that leads you to believe that the creator is benevolent and does love you and wants what's best for you and just knows more than you, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and maybe wants you to grow, whatever it is, Well, then you now have to be like, wait, okay, so a benevolent creator that loves us allowed or even caused a worldwide flood that caused mass death and cataclysm, etc. And so then you would ask, of course, why would a loving God do that? So I'm pointing this out because I think a lot of people that kind of they throw the God of the Bible away, they think that, well, if they can kind of create a version of God in their mind that doesn't do the bad things in the Bible, what they consider bad, then they escape that problem, but they actually do not. They still have to deal with this. And maybe that's just a question that you should chew on. Wait, that is true. What Austin's saying is true. There was a worldwide flood. I do know there has to be a creator. This is my interpretation of it. So, why would a loving creator allow the flood to happen? And, the Bible gives us an answer. It actually gives us an answer. And it says that it
What's
was
the answer?
basically a protective measure. And if there wasn't intervention, then it basically would have ceased to exist. Like it was a last minute intervention. In fact, it paints a narrative that he was so merciful, he waited till the very last minute, till really all other flesh was corrupted. There was no other way to even sustain humanity other than to, interject.
They were destroying his
Also like
creation. That's exactly
also
what
like
I
to
mean
point
by
out.
that's exactly what I mean by, let's say I created those AI bots. Okay, yeah, I'm not trying to make it like hypothetical with not having empathy on the things, but let's say I did create those things, but I started seeing that there was trouble, that were corrupting other things, other parts of the software. That's why I'm
Also like
saying
knowing the
it's
fact
it's
that
not it's not a point of like, I could delete them without having to give them any
But you should
explanation.
have foreseen that. Be all
No,
knowing.
no, because
Foreseen
let's
that.
say
There's
we
multiple
didn't foresee it.
parts in the
It's in
Bible.
other words, something got into the software that wasn't supposed to go in there.
So you
Bugs
plan to
happen.
kill babies.
Okay, so this is the thing. People,
That's
God
their, that's
tells
their,
many
that's what
people.
they're that's their argument.
Did we get divided up a bunch
And
of
this-
But in other words, I'm
Someone's hot
behind
micing.
your hot micing, Tyler. Taylor,
You missed her hot mic.
Oh yeah.
Mr. Hot micing,
Oh,
and then let Taylor get in a sec because she did try to jump in a few
okay,
times.
sorry.
I was just gonna say, like, you can see how patient the creator is by like us sitting here like talking about it so much. Like, honestly, it shows his patience. It says he doesn't want anybody to perish. He wants everybody to come to repentance and knowledge of the truth. And I think the fact that we can even sit here and deliberate over it, like if he was just some like it says God is abounding in love, slow to anger in the Old Testament, and says like blessing generations of thousands of those who love the Lord. So he does say he's abounding in love, slow to anger. He does care about his creation. That's why he intervened in these ways. But we also see multiple times God's like calling people, for example, like Jezebel, who was like sending people out to kill like Elijah. And God
Yeah,
asked her
I
to
want
repent. And we have the
I just
ability
want
to
to point.
sit here and
Okay.
question the creator to this extent. It shows that he's patient. He could just wipe out the people that are, being annoying, but he allows it to continue. Go ahead.
You think that he could wipe us all out right now with one swipe?
Well, here, let me
God
just
can do
real quick.
anything.
I just want to
I
point
need
out
a
that
swipe
this gets. You can answer that for sure, but I just want to point out
with a
that
thought.
people will often say like, well, you have to have faith in God, right? So like the like my understanding and definition according to the Bible of faith would be like the faith in the goodness of God. So it's like, okay, like we know that things are good because we've seen it in like creation. We've seen that like a flower is good, it's beautiful, right? So then you have to have faith, right? Like we can't know, like, well, how could this possibly be good, right? To kill these babies or whatever in this place, right? But you have to have faith, right, in the things that you've seen that are good, that are all obviously contingent, dependent upon something that's ultimate and fundamental. That these things are good, and we can't know it because then we'd have to know all things. We have to have faith that this is all for a, for the best or for the good, for the greater good.
I would also like
Yeah,
to
Joe.
point out the fact that we're not exempt from God's judgment and wrath either. I mean, he allowed an entire generation to die off basically, and it was only 2 people that entered the promised land in the Old Testament. So, like, at the end of the day, everything that he does is for the ultimate good. It is for our benefit. Whether or not we see the big picture, really not his problem.
Yeah, we can't know the big. You have to have faith. You can't know it. You can't know the whole story and the ending. You gotta have faith. Yeah.
Well, we can't know exhaustively every detail of his plan, but we can know some things, the ultimate purpose for everything he does, and the distinct ultimate purposes for any and all evil to occur. I already mentioned all this earlier, but I'm not surprised it's usually not remembered. This issue is directly addressed in the scriptures. This issue of that God is omnipotent, all-knowing, and all-powerful, omnipotent, all-knowing, and omnibenevolent, and evil occurs. The logic decision is right here. At this point, people make one of 2 decisions. They either decide he can't be all 3 simultaneously while evil occurs, or the more rare decision, he can be all 3, and he has a justification for doing this, for allowing and or predestining and orchestrating the occurrence of all events, including evil. But most people don't want to make that term, because then they would be conceding to the Lord's indictment against them.
Yeah, I mean, I would say kind of understandably. That's what it comes down to for people is they say, how could this possibly be a good thing? I can't imagine any scenario where this could possibly be a good thing. And it's difficult for me to just because Gio had asked a question like, who here would do it? it's very difficult for me to imagine how this could possibly be a good thing. But I would have to know all things and all possibilities and all contingent future states to know whether this was the best, the best course of action. I just can't know that. You gotta have faith.
Like, you can know. Right? I'm resisting this notion that you can't know. You can know. You just don't necessarily know in any given instance. You only know until God reveals it, and He has revealed His answer.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. You build the faith upon things that you know are true, which are good, and yeah, you build it. That's what the faith isn't just blind. It's built on a knowledge, a knowing.
And just because some people think that he can see in the future or knows what's going to happen, or maybe he just tells what he's going to do in the future. Some people say that, and they equate that with him like controlling everything and making that decision. Just because I let go of a ball and know it's going to fall down doesn't mean I'm making it fall. You know what I mean? So just because he can know what he's going to do in the future doesn't mean that he's like sitting there controlling everybody's every move.
Yeah, omniscience, that's a good distinction to highlight. Omniscience is not orchestration. There's two different things. He has the former and does the latter. He is omniscient, but the omniscience is not causal. He orchestrates according to his omniscience.
How does prophecy and free will work, Gregory?
So this is the classic issue where the tacit presumption that underlies that controversy, right? This is the tacit presumption. If I cannot afford or overpower the God's decreed will, then I don't have volition, which is obviously non sequitur, right? You can do ABC and not be able to do XYZ and still have volition, right? So you can exercise your volition to the extent that you can. That just doesn't include thwarting or preventing or overpowering the God when He says this will happen.
Your doctrine of innate infant corruption is not theology, it is cowardice.
Okay. Anyways.
Thank you for sharing.
It is epistological violence against the most defenseless form of being that there is. There is no saving you.
Thank you.
Yeah, like I said, there was a worldwide flood, and so there is inevitably a creator, and there was inevitably a worldwide flood, thus inevitably a creator that allowed and or caused a worldwide flood. So, I mean, this has to be dealt with regardless of any specific religious expression.
The corruption is not in the child, it is in the accusation.
Totally ignoring what Witt just said. Okay, cool.
I know I've said this before, but I think it's worth saying again. I know it seems silly to say, but I'm just going to say it anyway. God cannot be accused of murder because He made everything. He is the standard, right, of right and wrong. So He cannot be accused of murder. That needs to be understood.
You know, Andy, if you presume humanity to be broken,
He can't be guilty of any injustice at all because He's not someone that's subordinate to someone else's law, culpable to someone else. Right? Where there is no law, there is no transgression. That fact is stated twice in Romans 4 and Romans 5. So if there is no law that you're obliged to obey, then there's no law for you to violate. But God is not under anyone's jurisdiction. He's not culpable to anyone. It's not under anyone's jurisdiction. He doesn't have any obligations. And secondly, He's not violating His own nature either. So they fail on both points. They can't prove He's guilty.
I think people have an issue with walking into step into the Christian paradigm. That's all you got to do. And then it's like, oh, right. He made everything, so it's His creation to do whatever He wants. He has the power to give and take life whenever He chooses.
The problem I have with that view is looking at someone who sets a bunch of rules and expectations of you, and even punishes you for not following them, but they don't have to follow them themselves.
Okay, so is He subject? Is the next reply? Is He subject to His law?
Well, what do we call someone who doesn't follow their own morals they set upon others?
Well, hang on. Answer the question. Because your tacit presumption is that the law He prescribed upon us is something that He's also obliged to obey.
I'm not saying He's obliged to, but I'm saying what would we call someone who doesn't?
Oh my God. This is why we don't make progress. I'm saying my reply to you because I'm replying to what you said. You said,
reply to my question with a question, so I
someone?
replied to your question with another question.
Oh my God. This is what happens. I'm trying to move forward. I'm trying to walk forward on the path with Him, and He's just resisting my effort to do it.
No, just blatantly say it. His question is God obligated to do the same things that He tells us to do? And the answer is this. He tells us to do those things because those things are within His nature. It is not within His nature to go against those things.
Let me answer this. He's not subject to any law, right? He's all powerful. He can lie, he can steal, he can kill people. do whatever he wants because he has the power to do everything, right? If this is the all powerful being.
No.
Yeah.
The flagrant
Just all
distortion of what I
powerful
said.
means you have the ability to do everything.
The flagrant distortion of what I actually conveyed. Flagrant. Okay, so
No,
I actually
I
conveyed.
answered it directly. I said
So
he's not subject to any laws or anything because if you're all powerful, you're.
You're not really in the nature of God.
I like how you guys dodged my question. No, that's cool.
I didn't dodge. See, this is what happens. Like, I'm trying to have a sequitur conversation. Just all this noise happens. Like, no, dude, you're not.
Yes, you are being convicted.
Dude, all this noise happens. People are putting 2 cents in. Just
my God, dude.
You're so
Yeah,
that's
but
so
we're
terrible.
Yeah. So it is hard to move forward. Like when people keep chiming in, though. It is hard to answer one question at a time when other people have new questions coming in.
Can I?
My honest opinion here is that the other guy was interacting in good faith. He was saying he was trying to follow Gregory. He said, "I don't think I'm not saying he's obliged to, but what would we call it if he's giving a standard to us?" The answer is a hypocrite, and it's just an extremely small-minded critique to try to place the parameters we place on man, on the creator that created the man, and the very ability to even come up with that word and idea in the first place, which is actually the path Greg was trying to get you to walk down to see the flaw in that assumption, or kind of like maybe even the arrogance and short-sighted aspect of doing that. So, I don't think that you are being bad faith, though. I just think that you're not really trusting Gregory to walk you through it for whatever reason.
And as
I
well,
definitely wasn't being bad faith. I just didn't appreciate Gregory critiquing me for doing the very thing he's doing to me.
Can we let Greg respond? Go ahead, Greg.
No,
He just got addressed, and he was trying to talk the first time.
Jeez, I was.
Can we reset it? Can we reset it? Like I didn't even hear Anchovy's question. Gregory.
So he asked, right? What do we consider someone who gives someone else the laws but doesn't obey the same laws that they gave, right? Like Austin just articulated, he gets it. Right? People are listening, they get it. They're misconceiving the nature of the issue, right? God is the supreme authority. Everyone else is inferior to him in every sense. And so they're obliged to obey his law. They're under his jurisdiction. They're coupled to him, right? Very simple. He's not subordinate to himself. So he's not subjugated by himself. He's not under his own jurisdiction. However, that does not entail, like Jeremy's distortion, that he is lawless.
It's not a distortion. Right? You're just making noise. You're just making mouth
Okay.
noises.
Yeah, and you have allowed it for 4 hours.
Wait. Just let him finish his statement.
He's just making noise. He's just fucking belittling people.
Come on, bro.
Shit.
Come on.
It's bullshit, dude.
You wouldn't want to be
for
4 hours on a Saturday night. He has just been making noise. Yes, for 4 hours.
Okay, then don't ask him questions. Don't ask him questions, and don't cut him off if you
hold on, Taylor. Hold on.
Taylor, hold on 1 second.
Jesus Christ.
But you do see the.
Greg.
Okay.
I mean, he's just trying to play me like I didn't say shit and my shit's stupid. Fuck off, dude.
Well, here, I'm not even saying.
Just waited to resume.
You come in here and dominate this whole shit every day with your fucking ridiculous, just nonsense. Your shit you suck, dude.
Hey, this is just attacking.
Talk about ad-homs.
Jeremy, I'm on your side. Why don't you give me my 5 minutes?
Hold on. Act. Come on, bro.
So wait, I'll give my take here again. Try to bring some peace to this. So like,
all right, I'll go after you then.
I do think that was a very inconvenient and inopportune time to interject, but I do also understand Jeremy's frustration because he felt like he was just his point was just kind of dismissed. And then like when it was called noise, he takes it to mean like, oh, it's just stupid and meaningless. When he's making the point that there is no limitation on God, and then Gregory's going to explain why he's going to show that it's a misunderstanding from his perspective, but. Yeah, I get both sides here, but I mean, I think we should rewind because Jeremy, if you're listening to what Gregory was just saying, I think that you may agree with him with what he was about to say. So,
okay, so
we can do without the belittling and the bullshit, but go ahead.
Okay, to resume what I was saying, all right. Besides Jeremy's distortion, where he says if you're omnipotent, then you don't have any law to obey at all. You just do whatever you want, murder, lie, steal, etc., which is a flagrant distortion of God, right? Rather than the erroneous notion of him being subjected to himself, obeying the law that he obliged upon all creatures or upon all humans. Rather, he behaves consistently according to his nature. Right? He's not subject to someone else's law.
Can we put a time limit? Can we get a timer going?
Wow, bro. Wow.
I'm just saying, can we get a timer going, someone or?
Wow.
Yeah, we can. What's really unfortunate is I'm trying to load an order on my screen. I'm on my phone, and I can't even go away for the 30 seconds. This is the third time I've tried to load the order before the time limit, and I have to leave the screen, come back over here every time. And we have tons of mods in here, etc. So like, yeah, Gregory just tried to keep it concise. I think that he was still just about to get to the conclusion. He just clarified a distinction. Whether you agree with him or disagree with him, the point is that the conversation could progress forward and you could give your take. It's about to be your turn if you want to.
If you ever stop talking, I will, yes.
Okay, so
you make it take longer, Jeremy. When you do this, you make it take longer. That's
he
the issue.
monologues all the time, dude. He goes on and on with his fancy words. Just come on, let's get
this.
Okay, so I'm
just let him finish his point, please.
We don't need to recap it from the beginning, though. Okay, because where we're at right now is showing the distinction between being subjugated to his own law, which makes no sense and is illogical, but it's that he's bound by his nature, and that is an important distinction, and that's what he had just said. Rather, his nature.
Right.
So you're gonna wrap up your point and try to be somewhat concise, and then Jeremy, you can give or take it.
Of course, right. So that's where he's not some arbitrary or capricious tyrant. Right? He behaves consistently according to his nature, given that he is the supreme standard.
Okay, if somebody is all powerful, that means there's nothing they can't do. Just saying it's in his nature to not have a power doesn't mean there's not a contradiction there. There obviously is. If somebody's all powerful, there's nothing, they can do anything they want. Anything at all. That's what all powerful means. They can lie, steal, kill people, anything. Literally anything, because you are all powerful. There is no power that you don't possess. That's what all powerful means. No, am I wrong?
Yes, you are wrong.
No, and I would like to answer. I would like to answer after Elbow. I would like to go after
Can I
Elbow.
answer the question you said to me?
I would like to answer after Elbow.
Lie,
Okay.
steal,
I can't answer his question.
Wait, in my opinion, let
Okay,
Gregory
I
answer
agree.
quickly, and then let Elbow and Noah say their take two.
He won't do it quickly, but go ahead.
Yes, you are wrong. Omnipotence does not entail doing anything that anyone conceives and utters out of their mouth. Omnipotence entails being able to do all that was logically possible. And it's not logically possible for God to do any evil.
He was all logically mighty.
All right, so
I think it's Elbow
Elbow
and me
and
has
then
for one
Noah.
on this list.
so pretty much.
It's possible for the God to do any evil.
He was all logically mighty.
All right, so
I think it's Elbow and me has for one on this list.
So pretty much lie, steal, kill. That's all human terms. He's created everything. Everything is his. So putting those things like that he could do those things, it's just kind of weird. But go ahead, Noah.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I don't know, particularly to the idea of God lying or whatever. Like not being able to lie is not an example of non-omnipotence. When expressing yourself, the full expression is the truth, and a lie is a privation of truth. It is a lacking of truth. So not being able to tell the truth is an expression of not having power. Telling the truth is an expression of power. Like telling the truth is an expression of power. So like if you're lying, you're doing less than the full omnipotence, essentially. Like you're expressing less than can be expressed. You're not like the ability to lie is not omnipotence. It's actually the opposite. It's demonstration of weakness and non-all powerfulness.
Right. Omnipotent. First thing when you Google it. Hold on, let me check it. Having unlimited power, able to do anything. So lying would be something that falls under the anything category, right?
Yes, but lying is not a demonstration.
But it does fall under the
power to do
category,
anything.
right? It does
Jeremy,
fall
you
under
believe in a creator.
It's
Your creator would be the
power.
same.
Like when you lie,
No,
you're
my
lacking
creator's
the power
not
to
even
tell the
close to
truth.
the same as this.
I'm just saying, if your creator would also be omniscient, right? Like whoever you consider the creator, so that would also come into play.
I don't have
Hey,
my
Jeremy,
creator might not be omnipotent. No, I don't know that.
Jeremy, let me try and analogize it for you. Telling the truth is like bench pressing infinite weight. Telling a lie is like bench pressing just the bar. So then when you say, can God bench press the bar? Yes, obviously he can. But that wouldn't be an expression of his omnipotence. It would be, in fact, the opposite. Saying, can God lift that bar? If God came down and lifted that bar, then it would be the opposite of a demonstration of omnipotence. Just like if God lied, it would not be a demonstration of omnipotence.
I'm against the continuation of this conversation where
Okay,
Gregory holds
duly
everyone
noted.
hostage.
I gotta say, Jeremy, go ahead, and I'm gonna say like another reason to hear this. In my opinion, Gregory's point to get lost, and it's like hyper specific. Like just my
It always does.
Okay, could you still man what Gregory's point was?
It's lost.
Right. I can still man this point. I actually agree with this point. So this is a whole separate thing. I mean, we can go back to that if you want. I just want to point out, just for my closing statement, if you're omnipotent, you have unlimited power, the ability to do anything, which means you would clearly have the ability to lie, because that would fall under the category of anything.
Okay, Gary, can you concisely reiterate what you said about the logic?
Yeah, what Jeremy's missing is the whole nature of God, right? If you myopically just isolate his omnipotence and only focus on that, then sure, it seems to follow that under the category of anything, you're able to do anything. Lying is a thing, so you can lie, but that ignores the whole nature of God, which includes his omnibenevolence, the supremacy and immutability, the unchangeability of his good character, his morally upright and virtuous character. So no, given that he's immutable, he cannot be non-God, which includes being all good, omnibenevolent. It is not logically possible for him to do any evil, including lying. So his omnipotence does not entail he can do any proposition or any idea people conceive and utter. He does everything that's logically possible.
Okay, I want to make one more response. No, it doesn't make any sense. There's a big logical problem here. If you have unlimited power and the ability to do anything, and lying would fall under the category of anything, then it wouldn't make sense that God couldn't lie.
This is why we feel bad for lying.
That's not an error on my part.
Let me say it. Okay, like what the point he's making is, sure, if you just isolated the omnipotence characteristic, which is that he's all powerful, if you just isolated that, ignoring the totality of his essence and nature, and you could say, sure, it sounds like it follows to say, well, if he is all powerful and can do all things, lying, stealing, murdering are things, therefore he can do those things because he can do all things.
Yes, exactly.
We know, but the problem is that you're just isolating that. He isn't only all powerful, he's also omnibenevolent, right? Meaning that he's only good. So there is an intrinsic immutable, meaning it's built in inherently, although that's a limited word. It's immutable. It can't change, meaning it's built in. It's the way it's you can't just grab the omnipotence off the shelf is the point, right? Because there's a totality to the essence of the creator.
This is why we feel bad for lying, because it's like generally bad. You know what I mean?
So if he can only
Lying
do
is bad,
good, you know what I'm saying? Like if he's omnibenevolent, does that make
Lying
sense? He's
is-
omnipotent and omnibenevolent at the same time.
I hear you, but that's not possible because, like you said, with the like obviously if you're omnipotent, you can do ability to do anything. You can't be omnipotent and not have the ability to lie. Like there's a contradiction there. It's a
Well, you can make a
law
lie.
non-contradiction violation. How do you guys not see this? Aren't you guys all into logic?
Omnipotent would mean he's able to do anything that's logically possible. That's what omnipotent would mean.
He said it's not possible. What mode of possibility?
Oh, was that to me? What's up?
Yeah. You said it's not possible. What mode of possibility?
What mode of possibility? I don't understand your question.
Yeah.
Okay,
I wish I could have
research.
got to say something.
I got it.
Research. Yeah, or even Beast may help you right now. So mode of possibility. About to teach you something real quick. I'll just show you something in the text.
Is it gonna somehow get around this law of non-contradiction violation you got going on with the omnipotent and lying thing?
Well, if you say it's a law of non-contradiction violation, then you're assuming that it's logically impossible. Is that right?
It's clear cut a law of non-contradiction violation to be omnipotent and have the ability to do anything but not have the ability to lie. Clear cut law of non-contradiction violation.
Okay, so clarifying question, please affirm or deny. So then you're affirming that it's logically impossible, yes?
For him to be omnipotent and not have the ability to lie, that is logically impossible, yes.
Okay, so what's the contradiction entail? What's the P and not P?
The ability to do anything. If you have the ability to do anything, I don't know, dude. Form it in your own P's and Q's, dude. This is blatantly obvious.
This isn't my argument. It's yours. What do you mean?
Well, here's the
It's
screenshot
plain
for you,
English.
Jeremy.
I put it in plain English 10 times. You have the ability to. You have your unlimited power, the ability to do anything. Lying is anything. Lying is ability to do anything. If you have the ability to do anything, I don't know, dude. Form it in your own P's and Q's, dude. This is blatantly obvious.
This isn't my argument. It's yours. What do you mean?
Well, here's the
It's
screenshot
plain
for you,
English.
Jeremy.
I put it in plain English 10 times. You have the ability to. You have your unlimited power, the ability to do anything. Lying is anything.
There's one. You guys have got too much assumption that there's one God. Why does there have to be one God? Why are you attributing
always someone who
human characteristics?
makes the noise and just deflects and
That doesn't help, bro. We're not talking about
Yeah, it's people off. That's why I'm pissed. I was pissed off.
Why are you going to bias to there being one God?
We're not even
and
talking about
attributing
any specific God right now, bro.
this God, like he's got a personality or something.
Okay, well, you can disagree. We already discussed. Everyone has their own personal interpretation. Okay, but we're talking about we're not talking about the Bible, which is what you're clearly saying without saying it. We're just talking about. We're just talking about a.
Man, the Christian God, right?
No, just relax, Carlos.
Dude, so then people think, oh, this is the perfect moment for us to all jump in so we can definitely not get it resolved.
Please,
yeah,
I'll never understand that, but
like you guys need to define what everything means. Because if you're gonna say, don't fucking shush me, dude.
I was in the middle of talking, dude.
Argue about, you're all arguing about the same shit, but you're using the word everything differently.
He's really disrespectful towards Jeremy right now.
Okay, so the point is, we're not talking about the Bible or the Christian God. We're talking about a creator that's all powerful and also omnibenevolent. That's what we're currently talking about. You jump in the middle, not know the context of here at all, and just be like, "Oh, I hate Christianity. It's super lame." Okay,
that's what I did.
I wasn't talking to you, Pure Rigor. You're just interjecting.
Yeah, I'm trying to bring clarity to it.
It can't be. It's like
everything
to avoid clarity,
guys. Please.
Why do you
Last point we were on is this. Last point we were on is this. Last point we were on was you proving that it's logically impossible. When you prove something is logically impossible is proving the contradiction that's entailed. So what's the P and not P that's entailed, Jeremy?
Dude, you form it in the P's and Q's if you want. I'm not going to sit down and write this shit down. I put it.
Yeah, you already don't do that. I'm about to answer that guy's point here. It's like those aren't human characteristics. Can you point to a human that's all powerful? These are the opposite of human characteristics.
You're talking about him. First of all, you're assuming that it's a male, him, God, him, and you're attributing lies. Like there's a bias between black and white, yin and yang. You know, left and right, up and down. You're saying lies and truth. Like there's some bias towards truth and benevolency in your particular creator. Why do you assume one side over the other?
Okay, we'll put a pause on that. Remember that really great question, but at least we can try to wrap this other point up. Like Gregor, he doesn't want to formulate in an argument. He was saying that it was like a law of non-contradiction. It's not, though. To recap for the room, right? Jeremy's making a point that seems to logically follow on his face, which is if a creator is all powerful, omnipotent, meaning can do all things, then that creator could also lie, steal, murder, because those are things that can be done. And since the creator can do all things and is all powerful, then the creator could do those things. But it requires isolating a single characteristics of the creator, right? Just it's only all powerful and can do all things. But simultaneously, the creator being omnibenevolent can only do good, can only be just. And those are immutable characteristics, fundamental components of the whole, constituent parts of the essence. Then the creator could not do those other things. That's the point. That's not a contradiction.
And I didn't even tell him to say an argument. I didn't tell him to say an argument. I asked him to state clearly the P and not P, and he refused to do it. So he didn't prove that there's a logically entailed contradiction, in addition to what Austin said.
What if there's 20 creators?
All right,
What's the relevance of that?
Let me ask this. The thing about Carlos coming in and asking a bit of this. So, like, if they're just talking about omnipotence, omnipotent, like, where are you bringing in the omnibenevolent? Like, is that the Christian God one, or is that a different God? Like,
Well, I laid this out earlier, right? And I said everyone has their own opinion on this. So whenever we talk about, for example, the flood, because again, we can throw the Bible out, and there's just overwhelming evidence of a worldwide flood. There's overwhelming evidence there has to be a creator.
So we know creator allowed at the least and or caused the flood, right? And I brought that as a perfect example because a lot of people just think, oh, why the Bible God flood people? What? You have to deal with that too if you acknowledge there's a creator. And so then it's an individual decision. If your own personal spiritual experience or understanding is that the creator is apathetic, nihilistic, or even malevolent, some people in here do think that, and I made that clear. But most people I talk to don't, whether they're Christian or not. Their interpretation, their spiritual experience is that there's a creator that does love us, that does care about us, that wants our well-being, hence all the things he gave us, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, or it gave us whatever it is. So there, obviously, if someone wants to vocalize an opinion contrary to that and say, oh, I think the creator's apathetic, I mean, I'll lay the groundwork for that. But we were hoping, I was almost done. I was hoping that Jeremy would engage with the point, like, I don't know, Jeremy could clarify on his end, like, right, does he think that the creator is good, like cares about our well-being, et cetera, et cetera? Maybe he doesn't, and then maybe fine, he'd have a fair point there, right? He could just isolate a creator, although all good isn't the only requirements of a creator, nor is all powerful. But anyways, a long way of saying, like, yeah, your point is right. I mean, it doesn't have to be a Christian God though, because when I was not a believer in the Bible, my interpretation of a creator was still like a loving energy, right? Like it still cared about us because it gave us all these things. And I'd look at nature and be like, look how beautiful this place is. Look how abundant it is. Look how we can make little mini me's, right? Like, look how we're free. So, I mean, that was my interpretation. Everyone's interpreted their own, but it's not, this is not strictly the Bible God. Not only does the Bible God claim to be good, and that's not the only interpretation, right? Like, if most people are being honest, they interpret God as just.
Okay, I hear you. So let's just with the Jeremy, you still at your mic. So with the thing about the omnipotence and all powerful and can it do bad things or lie, Jeremy, it now goes back to you. So Witsit was adding the omnibenevolent, meaning all good. So Jeremy, is the creator you're talking about, or in terms of the discussion, are you saying it's omnibenevolent and omnipotent, or only omnipotent? Because can you see how if it's omnibenevolent and omnipotent, then those would contradict to do anything? Oh, he just said you can't VC in the text chat. All right.
Because I would yield to Jeremy's point that if you can pull the omnipotence out by itself and say that the creator's like apathetic, like it's an ant farm or something, then yeah, of course that creator could lie. If it's not bound by any justice, right, or goodness, then yeah.
What can you explain omnibenevolence from the point of like how is that possible? Because you can't be benevolent equally towards everyone. So that's not omni.
So omnibenevolence, right? To be supremely moral and virtuous. Right. So
and this other point of it, like I'm sorry.
Hang on a minute. Snakes. No, Snakes. Can you hear Gregory? Have you got Gregory turned down?
Yeah, I did myself a favor. Sorry about that.
Yeah, turn him back up.
I can no, hell no.
Well, your question's malformed though, because omni doesn't mean evenly anyway. It means like supremely or in all things, right? Like infinitely.
Right. So besides him trying to create audio chaos, you just explicitly said you're just going to keep me muted and not unmute me so he doesn't cause audio chaos. But besides that, omnibenevolence is to be supremely moral and virtuous. To be supremely moral and virtuous. Another aspect of God is his immutability. Okay. His immutability. It cannot be non-God. His nature cannot change. Okay. So he said that it's not possible to be good to everyone. Well, how does he prove that? Right? What mode of possibility? If he wants to go logically impossible, what's the contradiction in things? Right? Words mean things. Right? I'm going to be scrupulous and consistent and rigorous.
But yeah, I mean, also like I know SE has told me basically he doesn't like he thinks the creator this could be like some type of twisted experiment and et cetera, et cetera. I do know some people do have that interpretation, but for what it's worth, and I'm saying this in good faith because I don't really care about winning debates or whatever. I don't like to debate religion and God and stuff really all that much. But I would just encourage any individual that feels that way, like I don't know, go test it, right? Like go talk to the creator, go ask the creator to reveal itself. If you're really hung up on the himself, right? I mean, I resonate with the father figure without the Bible, but maybe you don't. But just go ask, because like give me a sign, show me your nature, show me who you really are. Do you care about us, etc. If you're like confused on that point, in my opinion, literally just looking at nature is overwhelmingly evident. The fact that nature was even created, well, why would it even be created the way that it was? If the being that created it, the all-powerful mind or consciousness, the intelligent agent that created it, didn't care about us. You know what I mean?
You cannot debate religion, bro. Religion is a belief system, and you simply cannot debate it. What are you going to debate?
Okay. What mode of possibility is it not possible, since you guys said we can't debate it?
Because it's subjective, Gregory, subjective, 100%.
You just didn't understand the question. So I say, what mode of possibility is it not possible? Okay, nice talking to me.
Try to convince a person in an asylum that they're not crazy, and you'll figure it out.
So more, yeah. Right? So what mode of possibility is it not possible, since you said it can't be debated?
Well, because it's a belief system. So I mean, you can debate it, but how are you gonna come to a conclusion? It's a belief system.
Okay, so beliefs can't be known.
Not this one. No, I don't believe that you can prove that you know God, right? So
In what mode of possibility is this? Not to cut you off. In what mode of possibility is this not possible?
Well, give it a try. I mean,
mode
how
of
can you
possibility? Possibility is
You're not
appealing to
answering my
possibility
question.
by
In what
default.
mode
Is
of possibility is
fallacy.
it not possible?
In any
Appealing to
mode of
possibility,
possibility.
formal fallacy.
Here is the modes of possibility again. Come on, guys.
Appealing to possibility, formal fallacy.
I mean, because they're
Yeah,
making
he
these
didn't
bold
appeal to
assertions.
possibility. Can you define
And
appeal
what
to possibility?
possibility is an appeal to possibility and is a formal fallacy?
Can you define appeal to possibility, please?
As if you are ignorant to what it is, or are you?
No, I think that you are.
An appeal to possibility is a fallacy which occurs when a conclusion. An appeal to possibility is a fallacy which occurs when a conclusion is assumed to be true or certain simply because it is possible, which is the foundation of your presumption that God exists because you project onto it, the thing
you're just being
observe your own
incoherent, bro.
self-referential logic.
Gregory didn't
Yes,
do
and
that.
that is also the nature of your system, to argue that anyone who has any intelligence is incoherent if they don't abide to your presuppositional list.
No, you just
Okay,
called
so
out the
you're
wrong
you're
thing.
deflecting away now because
No, you're
you...
deflecting because I
Oh,
don't appeal to your
um,
presumptuous
please
worldview
don't everyone jump
that's
in,
built
please.
into your system.
Okay, bro, you said that Gregory used an appeal to possibility when he asked what the mode of possibility it was that was being invoked by SE as to why it wasn't possible that beliefs could be known. And you said that that was an appeal to possibility. You then properly defined appeal to possibility, which is claiming something is true merely because it's possible, which Gregory in no way did. Then when pressed on that, you began to deflect into a totally different gripe that you have with Gregory's total position. So you failed that test, but we can move on to where SE was supposed to get to respond.
So what you're really asking is of
so what
modality
mode of
within
possibility is it
semantics.
not possible?
So you're
No,
really
it's not
asking of
semantics.
modality.
And can we let SE go back and forth? Like he's been patient. He wanted to get in. You're just interjecting for no reason, bro. Come on.
A modal expression
So yeah,
may
so what
convey that
mode of
something is
possibility is it
likely.
not possible?
Well, the way I see it, Gregory, in all modes of possibility, it's like, for example, let's say now we want to debate Superman and the planet and kryptonite, right? How would we debate that and come to a conclusion?
Okay, so if it's all, that would include, if it's all, then that would include logically impossible. So what's the contradiction entailed by the proposition?
Well, can I just interject quickly? Essie, you're going to respond to that. But let me just say, but isn't the idea of having faith, faith is not knowledge? So you wouldn't have to have faith if you had the knowledge, right?
That's a classic misinterpretation of just faith. But we'll get to that.
Well, it is a separate thing, but I just wonder if it plays in here. Because if someone's saying that they have a belief or faith, is that belief or faith knowledge? Because if it is knowledge, then it wouldn't be a belief or faith. It would just be knowledge, right? Yes or no?
Yeah, but we'll get to that. We'll get to that. It's a classic error.
It's kind of a...
Go ahead, Essie.
It's more of a rhetorical question. No one has to really answer it. It's just kind of... I thought it would be part of this, just with what Essie's saying. Can you actually prove this stuff? But go ahead, Essie.
Yeah, I think they're not
Well,
mutually exclusive.
perhaps my statement was not correct. Like, we can debate religion, right?
Oh,
but perhaps what I meant to say was that how can we come to a conclusion? Perhaps that of who's correct and not. Perhaps that's a better way to say it.
Well, would you agree? Everyone
Well, just
comes
like with
to their
everything
own?
else, right? Remember? Right?
You think everyone comes to their own conclusion?
Oh my gosh.
Just like with everything else, remember? Right? Coherency, empirical adequacy, tenability, and specifically as it concerns theology, right? You either have the God is concretely real or not. In the next dichotomy, the God has revealed himself, itself, or not. Now, if the God has not revealed himself, itself, how would you know anything about the God?
Well, yeah, that's a good point. Well, God hasn't revealed himself to me. Therefore, I find it difficult to believe.
Well, actually, he has, and you just suppress it.
Yeah, he's saying
really?
that you are incoherent and did not recognize it yet.
All right, so Gio was trying to say something quite a few times.
Yes, it's always good to
No, I might
interrupt
have-
and moderate when I made good statements, so to make it sound,
What, dude?
move
Dude, you're
the
always a
focus.
victim somehow. No, Gio just tried to say something a few times, and he got
No.
cut off.
No. Well, I may have somewhat because Essie was it was supposed to go back to Gregory, but I just said quickly. But I'll just say it again. Essie, would you say everybody has to come to their own conclusions?
Absolutely. That goes without question.
Well, because when you're asking how could this be, proven, or is that what you're saying? Like how could it be known for sure to everybody, kind of thing? But I guess my response, I kind of forget exactly what you said, but I thought it was along those lines. But I'm just saying wouldn't it be up to each individual to come to their own conclusions ultimately? Same with shape of the earth, or a lot of different, it's up to each individual to analyze what is true and to come to that on their own.
Sure,
Well,
this would come back to the
absolutely.
bigger, the bigger topic. Obviously, we always talk about, which is is there objective truth? And if there is, it exists independent of whether or not we know what it is or that it's there or our opinions about it, right? I mean, the relevant question here would be like, is there an objectively true answer in terms of this question? Like when you brought up like religion, like is there an objectively true? I mean, that's the question. That's the golden question here, right? Is there an objectively true, accurate, and correct interpretation, like spiritual interpretation? I think the still man, like Essie's point is, his position is that that's unknowable. It's beyond our grasp or our limit of knowledge, right? I think that would be a still man of what he's trying to articulate.
Exactly that. Yeah. So
And
any
then
position
my
that
reply
during
was-
the debate, any conclusion during the debate, right, is just exactly that. It's just you can't prove it.
Okay, so that's the conclusion he just wants to be staunch on, right? But no one has to take that for granted, right? Because there's another possibility, there's another option, right? The other option is, well, just like will you scrutinize everything else to be coherent, empirically adequate, and tenable, the way I like to articulate succinctly. And then specifically as it concerns theology, categorically theology, knowledge of God, right? Either there's God or not. Okay, let's go with it is. If there is, the God has revealed itself, himself, or not. So it's true dichotomy. If not, then how could you know anything about God? So really, there's only one option left that renders knowledge about God logically possible, which is God revealing himself. And then people deny that God's ubiquitously revealed himself. That's just too bad. He has ubiquitously revealed himself, and people just suppress the truth.
Well, maybe I'm just not worthy. Maybe God deems me unworthy to reveal himself to me. I don't know.
No, it's not a matter of that. It's not a matter of worthiness at all. Your worthiness and his worthiness is entirely insignificant upon his decision to graciously provide everything he's provided, including his self-revelation.
People often they'll ask the question like I guess like to Essie or somebody else like Essie, they'll say like what is it that you have have seen that does not require God's existence? And if it's something that you can name that doesn't require God's existence, then you might have something to go on.
Well, that's a good question. And the thing is, the opposite. It's what I have seen being done in God's name throughout the centuries, throughout the millennia, that has made me question not just God and his benevolence, but the followers of God and what they allow and what they do in his name.
Yeah, they should probably not do it in his name if they're doing things that disagree with his way.
This is it's a very simple issue. Like I don't know why we get bogged down in it. Like you have God, his law. There are people who violate his law, then everyone has violated his law, and there are plenty of people who profess to worship him and obey him and don't. Not that hard.
If I could point something out, I see. When you rely on all of these,
I don't know.
And so that's how I know that cannot happen. So it didn't happen. It entails a contradiction. Anyone who says that this thing created itself is implying an obvious contradiction. It existed before it existed, so it's simultaneously existing when it didn't exist in order to cause itself to be existing. It's silly.
The effect is the cause. The cause is the effect.
Yeah, but when I'm saying who like did Rob create himself, we're talking about Rob as a human being. He's like flesh, skin, material, and then he has an awareness in his body. Like I've said this example before. Like imagine like a lucid dream. So you go into the lucid dream, like you're one person. You go into the lucid dream. Now you're in the lucid dream, and you're lucid, and you can create anything you want. You can create. So within the blink of an eye, you create an entire city landscape with apartments and businesses and cars and subways, the whole thing with the blink of an eye, and then you create all these people in it. So now you have all these human beings that are walking around, and then you can, in the lucid dream, since you can do anything in a lucid dream, you're experiencing their consciousnesses, all of them at the same time, in their body, outside of their body, and everywhere in between, because you're the lucid dreamer. You created the whole thing. And then, all that happens, and the individual beings have their own thoughts and well, it's not really their own thoughts, it's really yours, because you're the lucid dreamer. There's only one lucid dreamer. But in the city landscape, the different beings have thoughts and ideas, and they feel, and they have all the, philosophies of life, whatever it all is. But you are them, because the whole thing's your lucid dream. And then when you wake up and you're just you. So in that sense, yes, the lucid dreamer created the whole city landscape, everything involved, the individual people, all of that, and it was one entity.
That's a contradiction.
So in that same way, Rob, when you're saying yourself, who you are, using that kind of lucid dream type of analogy, I'm not saying like the idea that God is a lucid dreamer necessarily. I'm just kind of making the analogy. Who you are is a physical flesh and body, but then
totally
is it another part of
your?
Is it like an extended part of your being that created who you are as your physical body? That's the end of it. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. No, I totally see what you're saying, but then what I think is that I would almost have to be one of those people in the lucid dream that is not in control of anything. Me in the lucid dream is the creator, creating me as a not knower. Do you understand where I'm coming from? I'm actually you're giving me more strength in my knowledge of God, because those people in the lucid dream aren't aware of you as the creator, are they?
They could be. You could create a lucid dream in which those individual entities believe in
some
a God.
of them might be.
Yeah.
Some of them might be, but some of them may not be.
Yeah, in the lucid dream
But
scenario,
they're not
you
the
could create.
creator.
In the lucid dream scenario, if you made a whole the whole city landscape and apartments and everything, and you created all the individual people, 'cause this is what people talk about in lucid dreams. You can create anything in an instant, So, if you did that, then the consciousness that you're imbuing in those individual beings, whether they believe in a God or this or that or atheist or anything, yeah, all of that could be created. Those individual parts of the lucid dream could be experiencing their own seemingly autonomous or free will, etc. within that, but it would all still be powered by the lucid dreamer in that analogy.
Yeah, but that analogy means I would have to believe that I am in a lucid dream, and only some of us get to be communicating with the creator, or even know that there is a creator, being you in this example, like as you're lucid dreaming about all these people, right? You're the creator, but but there's people in your lucid dream that know about you and don't know about you.
Geo's description of presuppositionalism is very precise. Geo's description of presuppositionalism is very precise. Good job.
Didn't even describe presuppositionalism.
Yeah, I'm not even necessarily, I'm just asking really questions. I'm not even trying to make some huge assertion, and I'm not really addressing necessarily presuppositionalism, although I could see how you could think that could be kind of wound into this. But Rob was just talking about, because he was saying he didn't create himself, therefore someone had to create him. And then I was just saying, well, how do you know you didn't create yourself on some other level of your being? And then we got into this thing. And then I was just mentioning the lucid dream as an analogy.
Yeah, we're on track. Geo, globe concept is also presuppositionalism.
So there is a God in contradiction. God is just us. We are just that God.
So that notion is a contradiction.
No ultimate creator, prime mover.
Flat Earth is also presuppositionalism. Now, you are getting the lucid dream analogy, Geo?
Yeah, so Geo, that notion is a contradiction. That's why it's false.
A closed system where the dreamer consciously constructs and controls the dream's foundational logic. Everything within the dream coheres perfectly because it is all a projection of the dreamer's own mind, their belief, their text, and their logic. It feels utterly real and self-consistent from the inside.
Yeah, I mean, some people say like life is a dream kind of a thing, that idea. I'm not even necessarily trying to like assert a whole thing on this. I was more just asking Rob because, originally the way I already kind of restated how the unfolding had gone. And so I was just saying, like asking him really like, how does he know that he didn't create himself in that way? That there isn't, let's say, a lucid dreamer part of himself that is actually what it is, which would actually ultimately be him. Because like in the lucid dreamer idea, like if the lucid dreamer can create that, all the different individuals, and even can create those individuals to have the consciousness experience that they are separate, or that they're atheists, or that there's a God, or any concept and idea, but at the end of the day, it's all the lucid dreamer. So that just in that conceptual framework of it, how would you know, how would those individual, the lucid dreamer that is creating the individual consciousnesses to experience, the experience of separation, how would they be able to decipher that there is a creator outside of themselves, or actually that they are it, that they actually are the lucid dreamer as an extension of the lucid dreamer, essentially, in that analogy?
So simply the question is,
it's impossible for anything to cause itself to begin existing.
Is the question simply, how does one wake up from the lucid state?
Well, okay, are you saying that the lucid dreamer, the main lucid dreamer, created all these individual ones who are individual seeming consciousnesses, and then how do those wake up to realize they are the lucid dreamer? Is that what you're asking?
Well, we have a puppet master who created a lucid dream, which I usually just call a fiction. And we have defenders of this who are baptized and also born into it, who sort of need the reality of the lucid dream to exist in order for having meaning with living. If the lucid dream at any point gets berated or is at the danger of collapsing, the dreamer or the person dreaming, having the lucid dream, is also conditioned to defend its own existence, because that is how you properly condition an agent that is easily controllable, per se. The most important thing is for the lucid dreamer to desire to be dreaming and never come back or return to reality.
That was a whole kind of analogy to just imagine the concept of, because you could think about lucid dreaming like you could go to sleep tonight and lucid dream, and you're one person. Of course, there's many humans, so there's not like one human having a lucid dream. But yeah, I mean, every analogy breaks down to some extent. So you agree there could be one source, one God, creator, etc., that could create all of this within itself. However, it couldn't create another version of itself. Or, I mean, I'm just trying to understand, like, do you agree that it could create all of this within itself from its own being, its own capacities of energy to create all of this?
In other words, it can't just create itself.
Well, we aren't. We don't consist of God. Like there's God and then there's non-God. It's not as though everything is identical, ontically identical with God.
Well, where'd you get
This
that
is the
from? Though?
sorry.
The laws of logic, law of identity, law of non-contradiction.
Do you
There's
now see
self-revelation.
my dream metaphor / analogy / poetry, how it applies?
Real quick, that's the problem with monism, actually, in Eastern philosophy, is that if all is one, there's no basis for logic, right? Law
There's
of
no differentiation.
identity.
Yeah,
Obviously,
there's no
I am not you,
differentiation.
Lion, but you can please keep attempting to imposture me. Anyhow, do you guys want to hear
Bro,
how
I'm just
the
trying to
perfect...
get in, dude. I wasn't even talking to you, bro.
Man,
I thought that was a great
I was
input from
making a
Lion,
joke.
bro.
No, that's all.
Yeah,
That's all I had, Gio.
Fairly valid
I'm just
input.
saying.
Wait, could you say it again?
That's the
The
problem with
Eastern
Eastern
traditions.
philosophy. Yeah, this is stuff that I've been recently looking into, so it's still fresh in my memory. Looking into Eastern Orthodox bros. But yeah, the problem with Eastern monism, this idea that we're all one, right? Like kind of pantheistic Hinduist idea. This destroys distinctions, which is very problematic when you consider the law of identity and what gives things their properties, right? Their attributes is what they are, right? So God has immutable properties. This goes back to God, right? God has immutable properties, unchanging properties that are part of his essence. And part of his essence is logic. It's an extension of him, an expression of him. Logic is actually concrete. You can't just arbitrarily make it up as you go along, wishy-washy, like some fuzzy logic. That's abstract, which is what Siak is talking about, right? But he thinks that everything is fuzzy logic. He thinks that everything is
false.
An abstraction, as he says, and can just and then just based on consensus or whatever. I don't even know where he bases his knowledge from. Actually, that's a good question.
Yeah, so you're oblivious
Where do
to
you
it,
base
so
your
don't
knowledge?
misrepresent.
All right, well, hold on.
Question.
Hold on. Well, you started on one thing that I want to respond to briefly. Like, Siak, if you want to respond to that in some, after. Let me just say real quick. Well, Lion, the thing is, though, there is a perspective that the laws of logic were created by the source, just like the law of gravity, the law of anything, whether you think gravity is a law or anything else. So from that perspective, there is the idea that the source is above said laws of logic, above said laws of morals, karma, etc. That's above all of that. So if it's above all of that, it just created the laws of logic for this realm to say, okay, this thing can't be that thing. Because if you're going to create a world, like I can't be you. You know what I mean? Like in our limited perceptions of who we are, it makes sense that we'd have to be separate and we can't occupy the same space. Like if we walk into each other, we have to, if we just, phase through each other, like our physical matter just melds together, that'd be a very different world. If you're going to have a physical world where your body's yours, mine is mine, that way we can shake hands, we can, now there's there's boundaries and so on. So if you're going to create, a separation for a purpose, you can do that. And then therefore you can create, what's seemingly different entities. But there's a perspective, though, like I think some of the Eastern traditions may tap into this, where beyond all of that, like they talk about Atman and Brahman. So the Atman and Brahman, like beyond all of the individual, that ultimate source, is beyond everything, beyond the laws of logic, beyond all of that. It just creates the laws of logic for this realm. In the same way that like gravity, things falling is not necessarily an inherent nature of this source. It just creates gravity and says, this is going to fall, this is going to do that for the purpose of this realm. So do you want to, what are your thoughts on that? That like, so therefore, yeah, the law of identity would be completely broken to the level at the highest source to where it is everything. So omniscience as well, like, an omnipresence, being present everywhere. Yeah, all of that violates the laws of logic because that source would have to be above the laws of logic, and then implements them for a purpose for this world that we're living in, but isn't necessarily bound by them himself, meaning he can occupy anything, my mind, your mind. It can, he could transcend the individual identities and become all of them because it is all of them.
Who wants to go first?
That just wouldn't be God. That's all. That would be your own version of God, an irrationally logical one where he would be inconsistent, unfaithful, right?
Yeah.
Where one day, right, down could be up and up could be down.
Yes,
if he decided to, right?
So if it's not their God, you're incoherent, and
it's relative morality, bro.
Well, that's kind of what
it is not.
Waving his hand.
But you didn't really address. Okay, I understand you have your idea of what God is, like, you know, of a person or an entity, and that you're applying it to that. But what I'm just saying is that I'm just using the word source. Let's use the word source. 'Cause I'm not talking about like a Christian God per se, because we're talking about different traditions. So we're not really just talking about one. Because you're talking about the Eastern and how they see reality and philosophy and consciousness and all this.
They all collapse.
So
On the scrutiny, they all collapse.
I'm just saying.
He was talking about what you're talking about,
monism.
Gio.
That's your opinion, but we're actually talking about the nature of it and just at least conceptually. I know you have your opinion and so on, but
Not an opinion, Gio.
I'm just
He was
saying
talking about what you were talking about, Gio.
there could be there could be a source of consciousness that is beyond the laws of logic and therefore can transcend all of them. And if there's one God, it would have to do that because the one God is many, is experienced as many. And if there's one, it would have to transcend the law of identity because it is everything.
Right, so you're continuing to predicate while you make the predication impossible in every sense.
Here comes the incoherent claims. Be ready.
Yeah, so you have to understand what God is and what He is not, right? And
Yes,
what He
Gio,
is
you
not
don't understand.
right, is inconsistent and illogical. You understand that? And there are things that even God Himself is constrained to, which is logic. He can't just go outside of logic and be illogical and do things that you can't compute that are literally like when you try to compute can't be computed. There's means that the function or the formula in the logic is flawed. That there's something wrong with the structure of the argument. It's invalid. It's flawed. It's illogical.
Okay,
God is not
listen,
illogical.
please. I'm acting
He's
in good
structured.
faith.
He's computational. Right? He's
Okay,
orderly. He's harmonious. Why would you say that he's capable of being illogical one day?
And at the same time, he calls you incoherent. Gio, man, please. The next step of the lucid dream is just now exemplifying itself. So we have this. Yes.
Schlitzy's hot micing.
Yeah.
Well, if you're gonna go, Ziak, just keep it within like 30 seconds because I think we want to keep it flowing. But go ahead if you want to say your piece. I just wanted to respond to some of that, but go ahead.
Yes. So, thank you for that. So we have this dreamer, yeah, who created his internal reality, where the pre-programmed Yahweh sustains Sith logic reigns supreme. So the next bit that I was going to get into is where it goes from total internal coherence of the lucid dream to where the smuggling move comes into play. And I think you will recognize this very quickly. So when you, from outside the dream, for example, point to the actual sun and you say, but look, the real sun is shining. This philosopher within the lucid dream, which I named Gregory earlier, but we can change or redact the name, he will respond from within his dream and he will say, but the very concept of sun, the logic of shining, and your ability to even speak are all borrowed concepts from my dream world granted to you by Yahweh. You are using my dreamer's rules to try and disprove him. You cannot escape the dream, even in your attempts to deny it.
Yeah, it's a minute, but it's all good.
Do you hear how the lucid dream now was interrupted by the lucid dreamers that don't want you to understand it?
Gio said 30 seconds. You went on for a minute, dude.
Yes.
And you're like,
You're just whining about your external critique.
Wait up, but this is so Gio is trying to say something a couple times. If you guys can like respect people when they try to talk, to be cool.
They get very angry when their move is exposed.
I don't think that's what just happened, bro.
Okay, your opinion, Gio. It's
I
your
wanted
turn.
to say something about Gio's thing.
No, it's Gio's turn. Gio, he was going to say something.
No, go ahead,
Go
Taylor.
ahead, Gio.
Okay.
No, that's fine. You can go ahead.
I was just gonna jump into the previous conversation. The only problem I have with that really is the whole ignorance thing. Like, because if we're all God, I don't see how he can impose ignorance on other people in like a dualistic. That seems like dualism because, he can impose. If we're just pieces of God, then somehow he can create us with ignorance. And I think God is all knowing, all powerful. I think that's like an entailment of whatever creator you have. And to then impose ignorance on other beings, I think that would in the same sense be like something else experiencing its own reality. You know what I mean? And that's like a different sentient being, not just God itself. Because then it takes away our right and our free will and our like identity. Like that's totally stripping our identity away from us, like as individual beings. Just like that, we're fragments of God. We don't have a choice to go back to it.
You
You
have
know,
30
and so
seconds now.
that's the only problem. Thank you for pointing that out. I do appreciate it. I don't want to monologue either. So if I go over time,
Okay, mute
feel free
yourself,
to cut me
Taylor.
off.
You're
Go ahead.
roboting.
Oh, to be
I'm
fair,
saying
like
if I go over 30
Taylor,
seconds, please cut me off. Thank you.
You're
yeah, I mean, the
roboting.
30 seconds wasn't imposed because the fact that he typically goes on for minutes and minutes and minutes with ulterior motive.
Oh yeah, I definitely have an
No,
ulterior
I'm cool with being cut
motive of
off.
good
I don't want
faith,
a
that is.
monologue.
Hey,
I think we
can
should
I?
Well, Taylor, hold on,
let's just
Taylor.
all try to keep it
Hold on.
concise and on the point, right? And that would be great. We could all work together.
Yeah,
If you were not oblivious,
So
then you would hear
I
how
would
I am.
like to just like to harken back to something
Dude, I'm
specific
just
in
gonna
the
moderate for
conversation.
Geo because no one's respected. Like Geo is so nice that he yields, right? But it's like every time Geo goes in to talk, for some reason, people just bulldoze right through him. And I think it's because he's so nice and he respects the room, so he doesn't want there to be audio chaos. He always yields, and then people are just taking advantage of it. I've just been listening for like the last 10 minutes. It's happened probably 15 times, bro. By like five or
That's
six
not
I
what
did
people.
that.
all
I'm
happened.
sorry. Gio, I'm sorry if I did that. I don't want to do that to you or anybody else. So go ahead.
Yeah, that I'm not doing that. That is not
What?
something
See,
I'm
and this
doing.
is like a what? That was like no one
Yeah,
said
you
anything about
accused me of
you.
something that I'm not doing. Yeah, well,
No one
in the
said
last
anything
10
about
minutes, in the
you.
last 10 minutes, it's been me, Gregory, Gio, and Taylor, and Rob. So it has to be one of us.
Okay, no, okay.
And
This
you
is like
It
a
was
included.
narcissist.
probably
Maybe it was
me.
you.
It was probably me,
Dude,
and I'm
it's like
sorry.
okay, I'm gonna
I don't mind
respond.
taking ownership.
I'm happy to respond. Okay, no, it wasn't about you in
Okay,
specific,
then was it
right?
Gregory, Taylor,
Stop
or Rob, or
interrupting
you?
me, bro. Look
Stop
what you're
interrupting.
Oh,
doing,
sorry,
dude.
sorry. Okay, sorry.
It's just called impulse control, man. So no, right then, Noah did it. I've heard multiple people do it. I'm just bringing attention to it because Gio is so chill and always yields. People don't
I
even
didn't
think
do it on
twice.
purpose, bro. The moment I heard you talking,
Get
the
it.
moment I
I
heard
get
you
it.
talking, I went on mute. Or not on
No, I
mute,
get
but
it.
stop.
That's why I'm just bringing it to everyone's attention because he's always so chill that it gets taken advantage of without people realizing it. So.
I'm sorry, Gio.
I just wanted
And
to say something. Is Gio gonna say something? Can I get after Gio? What's going on here? Because if it's
Well,
not
no.
Gio, I would like to say something.
All right. No, well, yeah, no, Wits, I appreciate that. Yeah, I do pull back, especially when there's a lot of people, but it is ideal if we can all work together to try to obviously let everyone say their full point and just give everyone the time. I think part of it is that Lion had said some things. I was kind of almost, it would have been ideal. Maybe a quick one-on-one with Lion and I would have maybe been ideal because then Seact went. And then by the time Seact kind of went on for a bit, I kind of lost the flow with Lion anyways. And then, and then it was just a little bit, people trying to jump in. I'll just try to say real quick. Okay, Taylor, what you had said actually, like that could be unpacked in a lot of layers. I'm trying to now remember because there's two, because well, one of the things you were saying, like if God would create, or if there's like one source that's creating everything within itself, that it would create all these ignorant beings. But I was going to say that like from the perspective that it's all one, it's actually itself. It's actually creating itself. So that would mean that all of the seemingly ignorant beings are actually the source. So it's not really like creating ignorant beings that are necessarily ultimately separate from himself. It would more be like a consciousness experience that is experienced as separate, but it actually is itself. So it's not really creating like beings like if the source is like has all of that like infinite knowledge, infinite everything, it could still create beings within itself that have limited knowledge, even though those beings are the same as it.
then what's the difference? Because if so is God creating other beings, or are we just like God that imposed ignorance on itself? You see what I'm saying? So I'm just trying to clarify that point.
Right. Well, that's the thing. Like, what is a separate being in the first place? Like in the idea of the lucid dream, like the lucid dreamer creates the whole landscape and then all of these different beings in it are different seemingly beings, but really they're all actually the lucid dreamer. They're all, manifestation of the lucid dreamer's, electrical impulses, light, sound, vibration, whatever in the lucid dream that is actually being manifest. So, I mean, from that perspective, I mean, a separate being is only like an experiential state of consciousness of the one source. So there isn't really other beings other than the one that is actually manifesting the experience of separate beings, but those all would still be one and the same with itself, like kind of like a manifestation within itself of itself.
So we lose our identity, like
And
we don't
notion is
have
a
any
contradiction.
identity. Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Well, no, because our identity would be that source. Like we are it basically, and then the individual identity of you, me, it is all that source, but like we're experiencing like a kind of like a limited separation, or like an illusion of separation, could be said.
Yeah. Gregory, were you trying to say
That's
something?
a contradiction.
Well, the other thing I was just going to say to Lion about, because I'm just saying we could go into all that, but there's a lot. I was trying to respond to partly what you said, because you were saying like how could a God kind of create ignorant beings within it. So that was just kind of like, if from that perspective, it's actually creating it within itself. But I was going to say, Lion, like in terms of like omnipresence, like if you think like, see, we might be also have to delineate between like, if you're talking about like a Christian God, like that phrase, versus just the idea of a source or a creator. I often will say the word source because it is kind of like a general term. So that's the thing, like, they're different worldviews. But I was saying, from the perspective that the source is omnipresent, then there's also that question of breaking the laws of logic right there, that it can be everywhere at once. So if you think it's omnipresence, then it already would have to be above the laws of logic in order to be present in everything, in every electrostatic bond, every light part of, light wave, etc. Like everything that exists, every, portion of matter that we call matter. If it exists in all of that, then wouldn't it already be violating laws of logic right there, that it would be present everywhere?
No, because there's see, in our worldview, there's meaning to the law of distinction, right? The law of identity, right? Right. There's entities that are given properties. God is an entity, a transcendental one, that is physical, that is concrete, substantive, and he has immutable properties that are part of his inherent essence. They weren't created, and they're not like emergent from him. They have always existed, right? And they're unchanging properties of him. And if God were to lose any of these essential properties, he would cease to be God, right? This is why he is God, is because he retains these immutable properties that are unchanging, concrete, eternal.
Is it possible though, Lion, that this, whatever it is, could not be like other things, right?
Do you understand what essential properties mean? Like essential?
Yeah. But I'm just thinking about grouping, how we group everything into things,
Right. So what's unique about this worldview is that there's a separation, right, between the creation and the creator, and the creation is not the creator. Right?
Well, can I ask you a question?
Did not create itself. That would violate a fundamental law of causality. You can't have the effect precede the cause.
Okay, let me ask you this question then. So I'm speaking into a microphone. So this physical microphone. How is this physical microphone in your viewpoint existing? Like the matter. So if you're saying there's a God, because from the perspective that we're all one, that there's one source, which is more the Eastern tradition and so on, and they talk about Atman and Brahman. Brahman is like the undifferentiated source, and then the Atman is like the kind of liminal separate being, but really that separate being is Atman, or Atman is Brahman ultimately, like in that Eastern, because you mentioned the Eastern tradition. So like this microphone right here. So from that perspective, like this microphone is energy, matter, the electrostatics, all of it, and it's existing. It's right here. As much as I can say it's real and it's existing, etc. Right? And you could take any piece of matter. It doesn't have to be a microphone. Just any matter. So in your viewpoint, Lion, is the ultimate highest of all high. How is it making this microphone be here? Is it the matter? Is it making the matter? Is it programming the matter? How is it making this matter maintain a microphone? Or did it create it a long time ago and now it's set back? It created the original plastics and metals and whatever, in the earth, minerals that humans ended up doing it. Like how is the entire physical world that could extend? Like how is the whole physical world being maintain and sustain, the actual matter, is that God or the source? Or is it an extension of itself or energy within itself? Because if it is energy within itself, and if it is, if the thing that is the source, the highest high, is making this microphone stay here, then that would mean that our physical bodies are no different. Then we are an extension of that source as well, or we are that source. The neurons in my brain, the blood, my liver, bones, organs, in the same way. And then that highest source that is able to make matter or have matter exist would also have to be what is making up my body, and then to extent the body of everything, all water, trees, plants. So how do you think of it in that way?
Well, dude, there's a lot there, but so we do give credit to the creator and honor the creator for sustaining reality itself, right? The uniformity in nature, the consistency, the relative homeostasis. We get to wake up every morning, go to work, come home to our families, right? The reason that is even possible is because of God, right? Now, even though he does sustain all of reality from the quantum level, right? Call it the nuclear force. Something is sustaining even at the quantum level, right? There's complex geometry that's being sustained. Now, that force is coming from God. Now, God is external to us, right? He exists external to reality itself, because in the Bible it says, and in the beginning, for that to even be possible, something outside of our reality had to bring forth this reality. It's a necessary precondition that a being outside of this reality brought it forth. That's what reality shows, right? This is what the law of motion states, that an object at rest must remain at rest until what? Until an external force acts upon it. Well, in the beginning, right? In the beginning, what set that sequence of events in motion? An external force. That's what we call God. So he can't be the reality that we live in. He can't be the creation itself when he's the creator. That would be a conflation, a category error.
Okay, then what is then the sorry to bring it back to this, but like the physical matter that is this microphone right here. I'm just using it as an example. What is making it exist? Like the electrostatic bonds. Like did God? You're saying your perspective, God started the physical world in motion and then pulled back, or like how is this microphone even existing?
Everything is participate. Like the entire universe is essentially in a small portion of God, participating in God's existence and his being. He is like the ultimate existence and self-sufficient being in itself. He sustains himself. And our world, like this physical world, its being, its existence, is sustained by him, essentially.
Okay, so like
1:17.
Is any physical matter like this microphone, is that like a blood cell within the mind of God then, Noah, in your view?
No, it's like participating in his being, like God's giving it a piece of being. God's giving it being, essentially. It's not part of it.
What's making the actual plastic or the metal is the thing that you're calling God. I mean, how it had to manifest this metal.
God created it from nothing. Like there was nothing before creation. There was no thing except him, and he literally just made it appear.
By his fiat, he made all generated material things begin existing.
How do you know that?
Yeah.
Do you have the God knowledge? How do you know that?
It's logic, dude.
It's
Given his
logic,
self-revelation.
the self-referential system made within abstractions to point to themselves.
It's self-evident.
Until you get an internal critique.
But like, how does it? My question is kind of how does it exist? In the first place, like going back to the lucid dream analogy. If you're the lucid dreamer and you're there, and then you create, like I said, a whole city with all the physical matter, chairs and tables and everything, right? Rugs and everything, light bulbs. You create the whole city. Well, I would say from that perspective, like, what is making that light bulb, and then if you create a human being that's then looking at the light bulb or whatever, I would say like the lucid dreamer is creating all that. Ultimately, the lucid dreamer, from energy, light, sound, vibration, whatever it is, that lucid dreamer is able to do that. So in using that analogy, so then the God or the source if it's a lucid dreamer, would be the one that is manifesting from its being, the metal and plastic that make up, this microphone or a light bulb or whatever. So that's why I'm asking, like, where is the separation that you're making between creator and creation? If the creation has to be made out of what the source or creator is, and then maintained from within it as well, like blood cells within a body.
It seems to be evident
what
that
you're doing
there's.
is by your propositions, you're conflating the ontic distinction between the two. Right? They're two different substances, concrete substances.
Yeah, I mean, it seems pretty evident that there's like multiple distinct things in this universe, multiple distinct people having different experiences, objects. Not everything's just one thing.
Yeah, so you can be contingent on God. All reality can be contingent on God and not be God, right? So nature, the earth, Gaia, is not God, right? Nature itself is not God. It's a creation of God, and it is contingent on God. It doesn't mean that it is God. I don't know why people would jump to that conclusion. It's illogical.
God is the self. God is the self-existent. God is the self-existent being. Everything else that exists is participating in his property of beingness or existence-ness, essentially.
Let Gio respond. We just gave him a bunch of criticism, so I want to let him defend himself.
No, it's all good. I mean, it's a lively convo. It doesn't have to necessarily be like a debate or contentious. I'm just kind of like maybe partially challenging some of the ideas, but not really trying to like debate or challenge or refute a whole worldview or anything. I'm just kind of like asking, then like, just to stick with this, like, then what, like, if there's electrostatic bonds that are in the physical matter itself, what is keeping those electrostatics, existing?
Gio,
Like
that's
on
not
that
the
level of the matter.
Okay,
Numa.
Gio, Gregory
The answer is
claimed if
simple.
you to make an ontic
the God
error.
sustains the
You
uniformity of
you gotta look at the ontic error that he claims you to be making.
No, nobody's
It's a
claiming
simple
this.
answer to a simple question that we can't move forward. That God sustains the uniformity of nature.
So, have you looked up the
I'll make a
terminology for
comment.
ontic? Have you,
Strong
Gio?
nuclear force.
Well, I'm just trying. Yeah, I do know that, and I understand. I'm hearing what he said, but yeah, there were a lot of points made. So it's there's a lot on the table, so it's all good. We can just go through it. But no, it's fine. I'm just sort of trying to ask, like I'm trying to understand how you could think of the idea of a God that can then create something separate from itself and then pull back from it. You know what I'm saying? Like, for example, if I was just like, out in the, if I was in like a black void of nothing, just absolutely nothing, and then I wanted to create something, I would think that I would have to be like, okay, I'm gonna use my powers, let's say, from like an omnipotent, etc. I'm gonna use my powers to beam water, and then I'm gonna separate the water, and then I'm gonna make land, and like, even if we go with that kind of concept, but in order to do that, I would have to use my might or my power or my energy or something to maybe light, sound, vibration, frequency. I'd have to use something to make, with my capacities, to make that physical world or the water even exist. So if water didn't exist, I'd have to go boom, just like in the lucid dream idea, in the blink of an eye, I'd have to be like water, etc. But in order to do that, I can't think how that water wouldn't be from that being, because there wasn't water anywhere, and then there's one God, and then it had to create water. So then if it had to create water, then it would have to, within its own being, whether it's made of light or vibration or whatever it is, it would have to make it. And then once it makes it, it would have to be some kind of intrinsic part of it because it made it. So from the whole black void of nothing, it then made water, physical materials, minerals, all of these things. I can't see how it could be separate from what it created, ultimately.
Okay,
Yeah,
I want to
that's
get
not necessary. In
after
order for
Greg.
things to begin existing, it doesn't have to. He doesn't have to pull from his own substance to make other things begin existing. Especially when that entails that it's not a different thing.
Bro,
Okay,
your
can I get in
entire
line?
belief
I
is
just
built
said,
on
can I get
I
in
want to
line
go
after
after Taylor.
Greg?
I want to go after Taylor.
Let Taylor
I
go.
want after Taylor. I want after Taylor.
Okay, I
after
was just
you.
gonna. Okay, that's fine. I just first of all wanted to. You just kind of mentioned like it's not a debate. I wanted to respond to. I want to say thank you, Gio. Like I do agree with like having these like conversations, like instead of like bashing other people's like worldview. Like what I try to do is like refute the points, give rebuttals. I'm not trying to like bash someone though for what they believe in, saying like, oh, you just believe in some fairy tale, this and that, like, and just like not completely dog somebody for what they believe in. So I totally want to just say thank you for that. I think a lot of us here have had that good faith in the conversation. Second of all, how can the creator create something then pull back? I would say while we didn't create matter, like, you know, how we can like program like just to give like an analogy in our worldview, like we can program like a computer program and like, you know, whatever, and then we can kind of pull back of our creation. Now I know that we didn't create matter. Another example would be like, you know, having a baby. Like the baby's literally like made of you, you know, your parents, but you aren't your parents in and of themselves. Like it's another being that came forth from you. You know what I mean? So those are just some analogies. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well. Okay. Well, let me. Let's.
Wait. Hold up, bro. Please.
Well, sometimes if there's like one person that's like, you know, like I made those points, and then if each person, I'm kind of like the center of the thing right now. It doesn't. I'm saying other people can be too. I'm not saying I am, but if it's like that, let me just respond super briefly, and then you can go next. Yeah. Well, sometimes we do that. If there's one person that brought up a point, and then three are going to respond. So let me just interject briefly. I hear what you're saying. So like, if there was like a, well, I guess maybe I don't even have that much of a response. If Noah just wants to go, it's all good. I mean,
I'm gonna say something real quick, but it's up to you, Gio. All right, I'm
Well, I
gonna
was just
go.
gonna say I understood what she's saying. Like the idea. I guess the one brief thing I would say is that I understand what you're saying in terms of like if there's you're gonna be like a computer programmer and you can like you have the computer there, you're gonna then program something and then you can walk away and then it's going. You know, you could make like a game that's even sustains itself or whatever. So I do understand that idea, but the only thing when we're talking about like the level of like the source or creator, like on the highest level, like it would have to make the computer and the circuitry and the wires and the code and the human being. You know what I'm saying? So I guess just like I know what you mean. Some of those analogies that you could kind of create something like I could go build a sandcastle and then walk away and like I did it. You know, but when we're talking about the creator, it's like but something. Like I'm already in physical world playing with matter that already is being sustained by something beyond me. So I'm just saying like at that level. I don't see how it could walk away when it has to actually sustain like the actual electrostatics and the physical, you know, even like what we call gravity. Like things have to fall every time you drop them at that rate, you know. So I just don't see how it could walk away from that. Like if it's the thing that's actually like the source of it all, you know, versus some of the analogies you said where you could kind of create something and walk away. So yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
All right, I'm just gonna throw this in there. Like before creation, there was no like pre-existing matter. So there was no matter that God created the world from.
How do you know that?
God essentially willed the world. We can go into that, but that would require a lot less people to
Knowing
be in
it.
the room talking. That would
Yes.
require a lot less people to be talking. Please stop interrupting in the
Yes,
middle
yes.
of my thing
Fine,
after the
let
thing.
Noah
Like,
go,
that is
dude.
fucking ridiculous.
Noah's barely talked.
Okay, you know what? Never mind, bro.
Dude,
No,
nobody
you
should
got to
be
show some
let us
patience in
talk.
that moment right there, also because people were trying to clear it for you, right? So it's like, just take a step back for a sec, and then everyone was telling the other guy not to interrupt you, and then you would have had your full.
You guys have to
space.
realize that okay, see there's just real quick. I know this is meta moderation, but see there's a trade-off. To have an open panel where we can have like discussions like this, there you know what I mean? Like nobody could have instantly muted SEAC. We can ask SEAC 1,000 times not to do that. We can mute him or time him out, but we're trying to let everyone be here and be compassionate to everybody. So we can't instantly stop that. So there's a trade-off. Some of the interruptions are frustrating, but the difference is that we all can have a live conversation. Otherwise everyone's muted and it's very controlled. So it's kind of like synchronized swimming. Like everyone has to kind of work together, you know.
So we can only like quickly interject and be like, "Bro, fall back and let him talk." You know, you got it. So that's gonna. I mean, there's the only way to do it.
Right, but it is frustrating. I know when I get interrupted, it throws your whole thing off.
Yeah,
That's why
especially if you're like in a flow of thought and you have it all. You know.
Yes, it happens to me all the fucking time. I know.
All right, then
You do
just
it to everyone.
See, you just stay on mute. Just let Noah complete. No one interrupt him. Go ahead, Noah. You got it. You got the floor.
Okay, thank you so much. So basically, like, given this non-existent matter, essentially, like God didn't craft it out of wood like a human being would craft a house out of wood. That's how we create things. God created it from essentially nothing. He had to like will it into existence, and being he's the only thing that existed, he had to essentially let something participate in like in his existence, but not participate in the totality of his being, essentially. So like we would be like considered like partially good, partially evil, so partially God, partially not godly, essentially. And even the part of us that is godly does not like embrace the fullness of God, like Jesus Christ, God on earth, did. Like we would, even if we were good, like it would not be the fullness of God, like all of God, essentially. So like, yeah, I don't know if that clears things up at all.
Oh, okay, so then what part of us is godly then in what you just said? Like what part of us is that?
The part that's indwelled by the Holy Spirit and also the likeness of his image.
What about the physical matter? That's not God? You're just thinking that differently. So the physical matter is something separate from God, but it created it. And like
Its being and its existence is sustained by God. So it is like
You just
what do
personified it and
you think it's
forgot the
made of?
personification.
What is God made of in your view?
he's just made of himself. Like he's, like I said, he's self-existent. So he's not made of anything. He's not composite. He doesn't have constituent parts.
He's a single, unique, divine substance.
But I thought we established that something couldn't create itself.
This logic only
He
exists
didn't
within
create
the fiction.
himself. He's eternal. He didn't create himself.
Create itself.
Hold on, I don't know, dude, but he is substantive. He is physical. And he's concrete.
I mean, if you have the Christian, Gregory, if you have the Christian worldview, you have to think of God as like a human, right? Because you're image bearers.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Well, more so, reverse the comparison. We're like him, not him like us. But yeah,
we're like him.
So you think God is like a human?
No, we're like God.
Not him
right.
like us.
What? I'm asking Gregory. Can just Gregory answer, please?
Bro, why do you want to have this weird thing with Gregory, bro?
Because Gregory's knowledgeable on the topic.
He deserves